minutes would mean 2 minutes.
Yes, please.
So that 2 minutes would mean 2 minutes.
You are not
Yes,
heard.
please.
So that
thank you very much, Deputy Chief Justice.
The Honorable
thank you very much,
Justice
Deputy
Jokindu
Chief Justice.
wanted to know from me
Justice
of my
Jokindu
personal experience
to know
as a
from
draftsman
of my personal
experience
experience
as a draftsman
what our
of
intentions
the original
were
constitution
when we created
what our
independent
intentions
commissions
were when we
And,
created
my simple, straightforward
independent
answer
commissions.
is
We were
And,
trying
my
to
simple,
create
straightforward
greater
answer is
autonomy. We were
and
trying to
functional
create greater
independence.
autonomy.
You will recall
and
elections, for
functional
example,
independence
were under the
You will
Attorney
recall
General's
elections,
office,
for example,
and were under the hands
Attorney
of a
General's
person called
office,
the supervisor
of
under
elections.
the hands
that
of a
had
person
been,
called
the supervisor
of
not very
elections.
successful.
And that had
What
been,
did we achieve?
not very successful.
One thing we achieved
What did we
is
achieve?
that we created
The one thing we achieved
independent
is that,
commissions
we created
that do not function in the same
independent
way.
commissions. For example,
that do not
this
function
commission,
in the same
the
way.
Electoral Commission,
For example,
the chairman has
this commission,
executive
the
authority.
Electoral Commission, the
Because
chairman
this is
has
one of the very few
executive
commissions
authority.
where
Because
the
this is one of
commissioners
the very
themselves
few commissions
do
where
some
the
actual,
commissioners themselves
work. This is
do
very different
some
from
actual
EACC
work.
This is very
EACC,
different from
the chairmanship
EACC.
is not executive.
EACC,
and the commissioners do
chairmanship
not
is
do
not
executive work.
And
they
the
cannot
commissioners
determine
do
to charge
do
anybody
executive
or to
work.
investigate
They
anybody.
cannot determine
That
to
is a
charge
work
anybody
done
or to
by,
investigate anybody.
by
That
management.
is a work
Here,
done
as
by,
we have seen,
this
by
commission is extremely
as we
hands-on.
have seen,
For that very
this
reason,
commission
its
is
chairman
extremely
has
hands-on.
executive
For that
power.
very reason,
It
its
is very
chairman
similar,
has
Milady,
executive
to
power.
the JSC,
It
the
is very
Judicial
similar,
Service Commission,
Milady,
which to the JSC,
in theory,
the Judicial
is a
Service
corporate
Commission,
body,
which
in day-to-day
in theory is a
functioning,
corporate
the
body,
Chief Justice
in
has
day-to-day
executive authority,
functioning,
and
the Chief Justice
many
has
decisions
executive
in
authority
the name of
and
the
makes
JSC, as it should
many
be,
decisions
because it
in
couldn't
the
be
name
run
of the
in any
JSC,
other way,
as it
Thank
should
you.
be, because it couldn't be run in any other way.
We thank you, the Honorable the Senior Counsel. Thank you very much. At this Senior Counsel, I return this to the Judge President. Thank you very much. At this juncture, I return this to the Judge President to lead the proceedings.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for that session. Yes. Thank you for that session. We are really mindful of the time today because we are really mindful of the time today because this wanted to finish at least by midday. This proceedings at least we had allocated the petitioners. We had allocated the main petitioners. The petitioners 1 hour to the main petitioners 1 hour and then do the rejoinders. And the allocated 15 minutes. So this is the time now for the main petitioners. So this is the time read by Senior Counsel. The main petitioners. Honorable the team read by Senior Counsel. Honorable Rengo.
My Lady the Chief Justice, before the main petitioners, My Lady the Chief Justice, before the main petitioners, there were issues raised by the bench yesterday.
Yes.
There were issues raised by the bench requested to provide answers today. At what stage will we be able to provide answers today? At what stage will we be able to do that?
I think it is now. We must have forgotten you. I think it is now. We must have forgotten you.
Thank you. Just give me 1 minute to get to know.
Can we give you 5 minutes to do that? I remember it was like 1 or 2 questions. 5 minutes to do that? I remember it was like 1 or 2 questions which were directed to you.
Is that there were about 3 questions raised that which I should respond to. About 3 questions raised. If you may recall, which I should respond to. Permitted, but if you may recall, you are also His Excellency the Vice President. The respond to His Excellency the Vice President. The respond to the application civil service the tenure.
That is correct.
And they did that, and we didn't have an opportunity to amend on that. And they did that, and we didn't have an opportunity to amend. I will try to be very, as usual. So very quick. I will try to be very, as usual, but I will need about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Respond summary, but I will need about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Senior counsel also tells me he has a request to make. Thank you. Senior counsel also tells me he has a request to make. Thank you.
Madam Chief Justice, you recall yesterday how gracious I was. You recall yesterday how gracious I was.
Are you claiming it back?
32 minutes to court. No,
are you claiming it back?
Because the court has worked. No, I will not do that. All that I request is 5 The court has worked. Nothing more than 5 minutes. All that I request is 5 minutes. We are doing quite well. Nothing more than 5 minutes of your time. Thank you so much. We are doing quite well this morning. I don't know who will go first. Thank you so much. Senior or ourselves. I don't know who will go first, whether it's my senior or ourselves.
Chief Justice and Deputy Chief Justice members Chief Justice and Deputy Chief Justice members of the Supreme Court. Specific just to point out that we addressed. That there was specific question that we addressed, for example, acting for the 4 council, and we would like to know for the 4 at what point. We would like to know are expected at what point to respond to those questions. We are expected to respond to those questions after the petitioners. Thank you. After the petitioners. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chief Justice and members of the court. Good morning, Madam Chief Justice and members of the court. Because similarly, we had several questions directed because similarly we had several questions would react to us before which we thought would react make our rejoinder before, and I thought make our rejoinder. You had clearly stated that I thought 30 minutes. You had clearly stated that we'd have 30 minutes. We had about 27 questions at liberty to proceed to answer those questions. Are we at liberty to proceed to answer those questions right away?
Sorry, Senior Counsel Olengo, you have 1 hour to respond. Senior Counsel Olengo, you have 1 hour more than 1 hour because of answering but I hear you saying you need more than 1 hour, and therefore you're asking for another 30 minutes. And therefore you're asking for another 30 minutes. We can see what we can do with 1 hour. We can see what we can do with 1 hour. Maybe 15 minutes. If you extend maybe 15 minutes.
There's a very important question which it would not just
it's
be
all
enough.
Right, because even the time we are wasting now, you could be it's all right, because even the time we are wasting now, we're just asking you to be kind, because we really have to get to bed. We're just asking you to be kind, because we really have to get judgment. We don't have much time of writing the judgment.
Thank you. We answering those questions. In the 30 minutes that we'll be answering those questions, and my lords, you'll be addressed by my lady Utenda Molo, and my lords, particularly on the question of turnout, which was asked by, particularly on the question of turnout, which was asked by Firoz Nodji, Senior Counsel, and Paul Mwangi, and Miss Julie, Senior Counsel, will address you in those 30 minutes, and Miss Julie Soweto will address you in those 30 minutes. Senior Counsel Utenda Molo will address you on the first question.
Yes.
Senior Counsel Utenda Molo will address you on the first question.
Not yet. Yes. Not yet. Not yet. Council. Not yet. Yes. Oraro, Senior Counsel Gatia. Oraro, please, or is it Gatia?
My senior is beckoning my key.
Yes.
My senior is beckoning my key.
Yes. 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Chief Justice, Deputy Chief Justice, distinguished judges Chief Justice, Deputy Chief Justice, distinguished judges of the Supreme Court. Actually, 3 questions were asked that are relevant. Several Submissions yesterday. Questions were asked that are paraphrased as follows. One, submissions yesterday. If paraphrased as follows. One, if National Security Advisory Council 4 knew the results. National Security Advisory Council 4 knew the results before they went there, and 2, before they went there, and the result not be announced. Why the next day the result not be announced, and 4, the next day to build consensus. What will be the effect of the non-involvement? What will be the effect of the 4 commissioners, the non-involvement in the verification and tallying of the 4 commissioners vis-a-vis Article 1 verification and tallying vis-a-vis Article 1 is as follows. 3C. Our response is as follows. It is our submission. 1, that all factors, it is our submission to an inescapable conclusion, point to an inescapable conclusion. 4 members of the National Security Advisory Council, 4 members of the National Security Advisory Council, by the time they to the Bomas of Kenya National Tallying Center went to and the Bomas of Kenya National Tallying Center, the head of public service, and by the time on the returning officer, the head of the presidential election, by that time on the returning officer of the presidential election, by that this time, is our evidence, they knew. And this is our evidence. The morning of the 15th, by the morning of the 15th, issued by the returning officer, letters of the presidential election, returning officer, to all the presidential election candidates and members of their family, to all the presidential candidates and members of their family, for the declaration to be at the National Tallying Center for the declaration of results at 3 p.m. My client on that day already had received that invitation. I believe the already had received that invitation. I believe the other presidential candidates, and therefore had those letters. They knew by the time. Therefore, these 4 went. These state officers went by the to time the National Tallying Center. These 4 went. These state officers went. They to the knew National that the Center. Verification tallying had been completed. They knew that and the what verification was tallying was had been the declaration and what final was result was the declaration of the final result. Distinguished, it is our submission, Chief Justice, that distinguished judges went to the National Tallying Center not for any other reason. The National Tallying Center not for any other reason with the declaration of results, and thereby interfere with the declaration of results, and thereby the sovereign will of the people of Kenya, to alter which had already the sovereign will of the been verified and tallied, which in accordance with one been verified and tallied in accordance with 1, Article 1 that is our response. 2, that the results could not be announced. Is our response the following day because that the results could not be announced according to the affidavit of the chairperson of the commission. To the affidavit using the word chairperson on advice by Justice and I'm using the word chairperson, which I agree with by Justice Ndongo. That which I agree with entirely. That it was not by that possible for any form of consensus. It was not possible for any form of consensus. The follow-up question was, I think, from Justice Lenaola, why, for example, the follow-up question was, I think, from Justice Lenaola, why, for example, to build consensus would not have waited for an extra day which he had to build consensus. It was not possible. It was very clear that the intention was to try and veto the will of the people. That the intention was to try and veto the will of the people. And therefore the chairman had to declare those results. Number 3, who left. They also who left. Their colleagues had been injured. Also, and so the chairman had, in our view, their colleagues had been injured. And so the chairman because of the gravity of the situation, finally announcement that day because of the gravity of the situation. Finally, this court ought to ask itself. The question is whether this court ought to ask working away of 4 commissioners at the tail end of a process the working away of 4 commissioners at the tail end of a process which they have admitted. The declaration can veto, except the declaration, the sovereign will of the people of Kenya. Can the walking away the sovereign will of the people of Kenya of a process they have been involved in commissioners be the at the tail end of a process they have been involved in? The right to franchise in Article 38 of the Constitution. The right to franchise in Article 38 of the Constitution. Thank you. Which is the expression of the voter. Thank you. And we prayerfully submit.
Chief Justice, my lords. Deputy Chief Justice, Lady Chief Justice. I'll begin with the question which was asked by Justice. I'll begin with the and that is what orders are we seeking? And that orders we are seeking is are we seeking? This honorable the orders we are seeking dismiss the allegation by the second. This honorable court dismiss the allegation by the second, which have not been on oath, which accompanied not sufficient level accompanied evidence sufficient to justify level proof evidence beyond reasonable to doubt, justify proof as required beyond reasonable doubt, as required by and as determined by this court in advance. And that evidence is beyond this court in the political statements. And that evidence which is beyond made the political statements, my learned friend, which have been made, Professor Kindiki, my learned friend, a few minutes ago, and which have never been just on a few minutes ago, and which have never been put on record. Issue of only 87.3 of my view 87.3 my humble submission is my view contrary to submission is that provisions of Section 39 of the provisions of Section 39 Act of the Election Act, Article 183, 3C, and Article 183, regulatory framework which confers is those powers which have been reserved for the Commission, and those powers which have been reserved for the Commission is contrary and grants them to the chairman. It is constitutional, contrary to the Constitution. It is, and that was so constitutional, contrary to the Constitution, and that was so observed in the case of. Now, there was a question raised by Justice Dr. Wanjala. There was a question raised by you queried whether NSC would have gone to influence the alterations of results without knowing the results, to influence the alterations of results without just knowing the results. Exhorts that the results were known because invitations exhorts that the results were known because the letter had been sent out. And the letter had been sent. To the contrary, the evidence before you, to the contrary, by the chairman, the evidence before you that by the chairman was that gone to tally had obtained the final tally only after he had met final tally only after he had found met paragraph 6. And that is found at his affidavit where he says that after the affidavit, NSAC team had left, that after the Commission Secretary Chief Executive Officer team had left, also the Commission Secretary Chief Executive Leader of the Tallying Center, Marjan Hussain, the alternate team leader of the Tallying Center, Marjan Hussain, walked into the bedroom. The purpose of the meeting was to receive the purpose of the meeting of the results of the presidential election, final tally before of the results of the presidential election. It is only before you thereafter to declare that the results were handed to the commission thereafter, and the results were handed to the commission by the admission of the chairman. He was not aware by the admission of the chairman until he was not aware of the results until after had left. Now, the Deputy Chief Justice asked about the effect. Now, the Deputy Chief Justice asked about the effect on the independence of IEBC, on the independence of IEBC. NSC's leadership is a body comprised of all the heads is of the security organs in this country. The head of security organs in this country, the representative of civil service, of Attorney General, and other heads in the government. His purpose is to receive and other heads in the government information. His purpose on national security, all the information, give advice on national security, but give advice. Give advice, so that not even if they are of the view advised that so that it is insecure they are of the view in this court at this time, it is the NSC who will give advice to the judiciary. It is the NSC who will give advice to the judiciary. And that is not an we have to take with their role in the context. We have to take these four their role in the context and that as these four were quoted by the SAC bigger body. They were not there on their own account. Bigger body. They were not let them now on their own account for undertaking which an official duty being vilified for undertaking an official duty they were requested to undertake. I had shouts from another friend on behalf of His Excellency from another friend on behalf of crucify them. His Excellency the Deputy President. This has indeed crucify them led to tweets today, and there are many indeed to led to various members and there are many. The NSAC, various members them we shall revisit. The NSAC, what this type telling of them we shall revisit, and that is why this type of allegation this court. And that is why the nature of the allegation, the burden on the to look at people who are making the nature of the allegation, the burden on the people who are making the allegation. If there is no proof, and in my humble submission, there is no proof. If there is no proof, and in my humble submission, there is no proof. There is political we discourage on officers conducting their official duties. Officers conducting their official duties. And I humbly request, let's be careful, my learned colleagues, and I humbly on request, particularly wish for this country, colleagues, let us not wish what we wish for this country. To be let us not the arena mob justice of operations to whenever the arena various of operations are discharging their duties. Let politicians do politics are discharging their duties. Professionalism. Let politicians do politics those who are engaged. But let them live professionalism. In fact, to those who are engaged process started, there has been a lot of vilification since on the judges process started. On there has been a lot of vilification. In fact, on the judges. Tweeting on the party been the norm. In fact, on discussing this issue has been instead the norm of looking on at it, discussing this issue. We can't stop tweeting. Instead of looking at it, but we can't bring it to this court. We can't stop tweeting. That's my entitlement. I beg, we can't bring it to that court. That's my humble allegations. I beg dismissed with the contempt they deserve. Allegations be dismissed with the contempt they deserve. My learned friend, Mr. Gatia request for donation of the 2 minutes to him. But I really would wish not the 2 minutes not to be so gratuitous. I really would wish not to be so gratuitous.
Thank you. Madam Chief Justice, if you may allow me. Madam Chief Justice, if one of our lawyers on record. I did not put one of our lawyers not in court, Mr. Donald, because of the sitting arrangements. Who is not in court, but to come to the business before us. In answer to the questions, come to the business before us. Will answer to the questions that were asked by the court. Will deal with beginning with my learned friend asked by the court, Mr. Paul. Beginning with my learned friend, Mr. Paul Mwangi.
Madam Chief Justice, Madam Lady Deputy Chief Justice, Madam Chief Justice, my lords, my ladies, Deputy Chief Justice, I have 9 questions which I'll tackle very first. Have 9 questions. What I've done is I have classified it into topics. What I've done is because I have classified it into topics because the relevance of rejected votes in the counts of the election. Of rejected votes. This is a matter in the counts of the election. We have this is a matter that both in 2013 and 2017 asked the court to both in 2013 and 2017 wish to submit as we submitted the 2 times. Wish to say that it is still submitted the 2 times that people who come out to vote whether their vote is counted or not. People who coming out to vote whether their vote is counted or not. And whether to make a stand either due to technicality or other reason, and whether their vote is not counted either due to technicality or other reason, not treated their vote is not as counted. Those who stayed at home. There are people who be not treated to express an opinion stayed at home. There are people how they want to be led. Came to express an opinion for various reasons on how they want to be led. Was not counted for various reasons. But their vote, the fact that they was not counted, should be taken into account. So the fact that they appeared should be taken into account. Consider their votes whether they are rejected, that and even if consider their votes whether they are rejected, and even if should also be they are called stray ballots in that also be in that sum. Consider the second question was regarding the scientific next. The second question was regarding scientific next. Whether there are any scientific studies of elections in a postponement. The next we have of elections in a postponement tender any further documents of this, but there are very many unfortunately theories in political science for the documents of this, but there are very many contagion theories in political science. Elections affect each other. People come out to vote for various reasons. Elections affect each other, and especially when you're dealing with various reasons. Elections of a national level when you're dealing with. There are very many considerations of a national level make somebody want to come. There are very many considerations that would make somebody want to devolved government. Or a national government or not necessarily government or a national government and not necessarily one of the things that we also must consider in Kenya's political culture is one of the things that we also must consider in Kenya's political culture is 6Ps that in Kenya we do have kind of campaigns 6Ps that people come out to kind of campaigns together as teams people come out to across the board together as teams trying to win when you cross the board on disenfranchised one when you and that when you one election disenfranchised one when you demobilize part of the one election structure that means you demobilize for that part of the political infrastructure. And lastly on this point that is laid out for also that to consider that at least in respect of Mombasa, on this point we want the court also to consider evidence has shown in respect of there was an order from the Mombasa High Court that has shown that there was an order from that the Mombasa High Court that has stopped the printing of this ballot that had been made by the chairman that will not print. There was also a promise that had been made by the chairman that lastly will not print. And it was announced on the last minute. And lastly that the third issue was the last minute elements of Section 80 of the Elections Act. The third issue was what elements of Section 80 of the Elections Act in the face of the fact that we consider necessary in the face of the fact that apart from the also impeached elements that are laid out themselves in Section 80, which is that elements that are laid out themselves in Section 80, which is that and that the person should be found not to have committed any electoral offence, and that the person should be found not to have committed any electoral offence. That first, in our submission would be whether the petitioner is culpable for any of the wrongdoings. That whether the petitioner is culpable for any of the wrongdoings that is complained of. The petitioner benefited. Secondly, from whether any of the wrongdoings that benefited complained of from any of the wrongdoings that after whether it is a recount or retaliate, and thirdly the petitioner after whether it is a recount or retaliate the elections or has the petitioner those appears to have won the elections would add to the election. What is stated those would be the tests that Section 82 in respect of the question of Section 80 on the Kims in respect of the question of evidence that has been shown also even from the commission is that the evidence that has been shown also even from the commission JPEG that the images format are taken and the idea JPEG of the law of format electronic transmission and the idea was that that image of must appear transmission on the was that that image must the issue here is that there appears to be a place at which the issue here is that there appears no reason has been given why that format was changed. No reason has so that it can go to any other format was changed. But also to add that so that it can go to any other format. One of the most but also popular applications today in Kenya is one of the most and nobody changes. We get a lot of images. WhatsApp as original as nobody changes. We get a lot of images as original on an everyday basis, as colored as they are. Not in the hundreds on an everyday basis. Why an image taken on a JPEG justification kit? Why cannot appear in the same format throughout the electoral process? Cannot appear in the same format. The other question was in respect of the evidence whether. The other question was in respect of the evidence, whether and what that meant. The four commissioners, I would ask the court to look at the annexures and what that meant. That I put as MWK3 to look at the annexures in the affidavit that I put as second MWK3 in the affidavit and of in that the second petitioner Martha Karua. Flash disk, there are two incidences. At the National Talent Center, there are two incidents. Commissioner at the National Talent Center comes out to read the results of Kiambu Town constituency. Comes out to read after he reads the results. It turns out that the result he has read. After he reads the results, it turns out that the result he has read William Ruto by 10,000. Overstated and the votes of William Ruto that 10,000, he has gone past 100% of the votes cast. That he has gone, and he is forced to have 100% of the votes cast. The results. And he is forced to have to come. The commissioner to read had not known what he was reading. That shows the other video is that also of Junior Cherele. Again, she's given results. Video is that also of Junior Cherele. Again, she's given results with the same results of Junior constituency. For the respondent, with the same results and more than 100% voter turnout for the respondent, and again the results have to be more than 100% voter turnout. Would leave it to, and again the results have to be read. Explained. That would leave it to the other issue is about the constitutionality of Regulation 87. The other issue is about the constitutionality of Regulation 87. Our position is that now first regulation. Our position is that is unconstitutional or does not need the order of the court to be nullified. It is already nullified. Does not need the order of the court to be nullified. It is already nullified by Article 2. It remains nullified. And at any time, the second issue to consider is the duty of every person, not just the court, to defend the Constitution. The duty of every person, not just the court, to defend the Constitution. And the fact that this chairman, required by the chairman of the IEBC, and the fact that this chairman who has qualifications similar IEBC to be the Supreme Court is a person who has qualifications similar. It is him who has betrayed the Constitution. So it is him who has seen a regulation which is so clear. It is him who has seen a regulation which has refused to defend the Constitution, unconstitutional, and instead has refused to defend the Constitution and purported and instead to use an unconstitutional provision and purported to exercise power, to use an unconstitutional provision. On that basis, to every action that is done. So on the basis of that regulation, every action that is done constitutional. On the basis of that regulation, is itself unconstitutional. Other question was regarding why the four commissioners did not. Other question was regarding why again that will leave the commissioners to define. Again, that theories. One is the issue of the 89th profile 3 theories. One that is the issue of the if you participate in a game penalty, and the wrong penalty is given. If you participate in a game, you cannot be asked why did you play all along on the 89th minute. Sometimes you cannot be asked why did you play all along. That shows the unfairness. Sometimes it is the 89th minute penalty. It could be the last straw that broke the camel's back. It could be the last straw to Damascus moment. Back in whichever fashion we look at this, a road to Damascus moment. It is in whichever fashion that we look at this is understandable. It is the other question that is in regarding understandable. For if the other question be ordered, is in regarding for if there were to be conducted would go back to repeat election 250 who would conducted would go back to 10 because the Constitution provides for positions of vice chairperson. The Constitution of all provides for positions of vice chairpersons of does not lay out any. But Article 250 that they're supposed does to not lay out any undertaken roles by those vice chairpersons. Our position is that provision is not empty. Our position is meant that provision to provide for. And it is meant succession plans to provide for in places where succession plans in emergency in situations such as this, and emergency or a succession is situations such as this. But the second issue would also be that the court itself is inherent powers. But the second issue would also be that the power to ensure that inherent orders are fully the obeyed and fully executed. Its orders are fully such a situation fully executed. The court would treat its order such as an order that has to be executed. The court would treat its order the inherent as an order that has to be executed. Such and would have the inherent powers to make ensure that those orders are executed to ensure that those orders are executed. Before I go to my last issue, I want to comment on something that was said. Last issue, I want to comment on something that was said about no agents. One of the issues this court was told is that it appears there is a jurisprudence that is being built. It appears there is a jurisprudence an agent does not appear from the other side, then the opposing side has an agent does not appear from the other side, then the opposing side has to commit fraud, a right to steal, somehow excuses to the IEBC fraud or somehow excuses because the IEBC from And in fact, any duties, one of the advocates, because there was no agent, said that you must have agents in different places, likened say that you must have agents in different places. I said they should be like your wife. I believe that is what was said. Agents. Apart from the fact they should be like your wife, I believe that is what was said. Very sexist. Apart from the fact that insulting, not just to women, but even to constitutionalism. Insulting, not just to women, but even to constitutionalism. The duty of the IEBC must restate to protect the duty of the IEBC at all times in every place, and that it cannot pass the all times in every place, and that it cannot pass the back to parties. And also must, when wrongs happen, put the obligation on and every contestant in an election. Put the obligation on meet every place where there is no agent, election does not give you a right to steal. If you meet a place where there is no agent, it does not give you a right to steal. Issue, and I follow this up with what Malana Friend Maha did. Issue, and I follow this up with what Malana Friend Maha did. Show the courts from show the courts Gasharai Go Primary School from a place called Gasharai Go Primary School. It is in Moranga. And we are in Kangema constituency. It is in Moranga called Murugo. In Kangema constituency, in a ward called Stream 2 of 2. In Stream 2 of 2. And this document is overlaid over some documents. And this document is overlaid over some documents. But look at the left-hand top corner. Over a document. It is overlaid over a document just written. This is Jose Camargo. This is Jose Camargo is one of the Venezuelans. Jose Camargo arrested at the airport of the Venezuelans that was arrested at the airport, coming to interfere with the elections. Charges of he is one of the people with the elections. The last Mahat has said that I did not have access. The last Mahat has said the RTS did not have access. This form is in the official portal of IEBC. This form is in the official portal of IEBC. The question would be, was this document photographed? The question would be, a presiding officer. Was this document photographed by a presiding officer at Gasharaigo Primary School, sometimes possibly at Gasharaigo in the night primary school, sometimes possibly at 8 o'clock in the night? That this document has been photographed or is it possible in some office? That this document has been uploaded, photographed elsewhere in some office. This and uploaded. Ask the court to read the DCI report regarding Jose Camargo. Ask the court to read the DCI report regarding Jose Camargo. These are the fingerprints of one of the suspects of the theft. These are the fingerprints of one of the suspects of the theft of this election. That is all.
Good morning, my ladies and my lords. I will pick up my ladies and my lords, my learned colleague and senior Mr. Paul Mwangi from where has just left off. My learned colleague and senior Mr. Paul Mwangi that we demonstrate has just left off with examples in real time that we demonstrate how the Form 34A examples was interfered with, how the Form 34A was interfered with or could be interfered with, showing you or using and I will do IEBC's forms showing itself, or using straight from the IEBC forms itself, straight from the IEBC portal. Sorry, okay. From the IEBC portal. My lords and my ladies, I will walk you back through the form that we have just showed you. My lords and my ladies, I will walk you back through the form that we have just showed you. I see that the court you're tech savvy has and you can access the IEBC portal you're tech savvy right now. This is going to be a live IEBC demonstration as the right court now. This is going to be a live demonstration. I'm as asking the court asked that we go to the Forms portal. I'm asking in the IEBC that we go to the. We are projecting it up. Forms portal in the IEBC. We are projecting it up so that it's not said, because we have been accused of cooking things, so that it's not said, because we have been accused of cooking things, forging things. We've been called many names. This is the IEBC's own document We're asking that you open on your own document devices. We're asking that you open on your own Murang'a County devices. But even as we show, Murang'a County. Kangema, Muguru, and Gasharaigo. Primary School 02. Primary School 02. This is live. My lords and my ladies, we have downloaded a Form 34A from the IBC portal. A Form 34A, and I'd like the court from the IBC scrutinize this form before we go to other details. To just scrutinize this form before we go to other details. The stamp. From where I am, the stamp. The stamp. My lords and my ladies, is that the IEBC stamp? My lords and my ladies, is that it's on the IBC portal, looking like it's been superimposed. It's on the IBC portal, looking like it's been superimposed. We have been asked to show how are the figures changed. We have been asked to show how are the figures changed. The votes. Now, my lords and my ladies. Now, my lords and my ladies. If we look at the votes cast, the first figure on the form. If we look at the votes cast, is for Raila Odinga, 55 on the form. Is for Raila Odinga, William Ruto, 260. It's followed by William Ruto, 260. Mwaure, it's followed by 001. I think that's and the last Mwaure, Waiga 001, and the last Wajakoya 000. If we sum up the total votes, Wajakoya 000. If we sum up the total votes, we get 316. 316. The total votes cast according to this particular form. The total votes cast according to is 321. This particular form. Different is 321 from what we have just seen. The rejected votes from what we have just seen are 4. The rejected which votes, means already by calculation there is a problem. Which means already by calculation there is a problem. The total number of registered voters. The total number of registered voters shows that close scrutiny of the form was probably 455. Shows that and the 5 is actually similar to the 5 figures and the written 5 is actually similar to the votes cast figures. But somebody or somehow that in the votes cast has been changed to make it look like somehow that figure has been changed to make it look like obvious to the naked eye when you look at that form. It is obvious to the naked eye when you look at that form. When we go to now the bombshell itself. When we go to now left-hand corner, the bombshell itself, the top left-hand corner of the form. We were told by my colleague, Mr. Gumbo, there were no foreigners in this by my colleague, election. Mr. Gumbo, there were no foreigners in this the foreigners left election before the 8th of August. We were told they did not even before the 8th of August access. We were told to they did not even have. This is on the 9th of August to maintain the Sabbath. This is on the 9th of August. Is the name at the top left-hand corner one of the Venezuelans is the name Jose Camargo. One of the Venezuelans. This is the person who decided the president-elect of the country. This is the person who decided the president-elect of the country. It is on the IEBC portal. It is live. It is on the IEBC portal. It is live. How did that come there? How did that come there? What are you doing? This person is the one who was interfering with the forms. Is the one who was interfering. We are able to with the demonstrate. Forms. At least a crumb was left. We are God's able grace. To demonstrate. At least a crumb was left. We found something. By God's grace, we found something. We didn't make this up. We were told we forged these documents. We didn't make this up. We were told this is how, my lord, these documents. The staging. Now this is how, my lord. This is how the changes were happening. This is on the was happening. This is how the changes were happening. We were told they were not there. 9th of August. I'm going to do. We were told they were not because of time. I'm going to do because of time.
With your permission, Your Ladyship. With your permission, Your Ladyship.
I beg your pardon. In our petition, I beg your pardon.
You let her finish and then you tell us.
In our petition,
you let her finish
it
and then
relates
you
to
tell
an
us
objection to what she's doing, Your Ladyship. It relates to an objection to what she's doing, Your Ladyship.
No, let her finish.
And it's not the IEC. And it's not the IEC.
My ladies, my lords, that name, Jose Camargo. My ladies, my lords, that name appears in our petition. Gregorio appears in our petition. And is also that evidence is also found in the affidavit, and is also that evidence is also found in the affidavit whom we complained about second petitioner as having interfered in the election. We complained about as having interfered in the election. And who were told had no lady, we're going to take you again on the same IBC Live portal. My lady, we're going to take you again on the same IBC Live portal. And because of time, to show how the staging was happened. And because of time, if we can go to Bungoma. We want to do it live, and we're doing it live on the IBC portal. We want to do it live, and we're doing it live on the IBC portal. My lady, we were told. My lady, we were told. We were told about the KIMS-KIT and how they work. We were told about the serialization and how the numbers work. We have been told the serialization of the numbers of the 42. We have been told that 1,000 of the 201 KIMS-KITs that were used in the election, 201 KIMS-KITs that were used in the election, KIMS-KIT ID and serial numbers, unique KIMS-KIT ID and serial numbers. County, Mount Elgon County, Chesikaki, Mount Elgon, Chesikaki, and Songoyi, and Songoyo. Songoyo. We'll download the form. The nomenclature. We'll download the form of the KIMS-KIT and the form of the KIMS is shown at the top, and the form is shown at the top. And for purposes of the address bar, my lady, what we're and told, for purposes of time, it will show you, my lady, what we're told that that's a form 34A. It will show you. It will give you that that's a form 34A. It will give you polling station from which that form 34A of the polling station from which, and then it will show you the KIMS-KIT relates serial number, and then it will show you the KIMS-KIT. There'll be a date serial number and a timestamp ID. There'll be a date code to focus on and a timestamp. Is the serial number? What I'd like the code to focus on, and perhaps because I can't see number from here, this is where I would have liked the code to have its own here. This is where I would have liked the code to have its own, but maybe if it can be. But maybe if it can be. Do you have a roving mic? Now, do you have The serial number on this particular form, now, my ladies and my lords, the serial number I would have liked for the court to confirm for itself, my ladies and my lords, which I would have liked for the court to confirm for itself. May I ask one of the court assistants to read for us the serial number as it is, so that then I'm not accused to read for us the serial number as it is, so that then I'm not accused
it doesn't change
of making up things.
That's all right. Evelyn, it doesn't change anything. Evelyn, could you read that?
The number that starts with F2, it's in the middle. The number that starts with F2, it's in the middle. Or can I read it myself? Or can I read it myself?
I can't see it. The one on top?
Yes.
I can't see it. PR, the one on top?
Yes.
No. PR, F2.
My ladies and my lords, what would require
F2,
is that you note down that number. We will compare it with another later. You note down that number.
It reads
we will compare it with another later.
3045 F2 0M 300045 204 M 100 204.
The time, please. It's right next on the date. The time, please. It's right next on the date.
That one. The time is that one.
The date on which
the time is
the date on which
9th August 2022 August 2022 at 1956.
We'll check another form. Nyeri? We'll check another form. Nyeri? Nyeri Town? Nyeri Town? Gatitu? Morogoro? Gatitu? Thunguma Primary School? Thunguma Primary School? Stream 3. Stream 3. Can you read the serial number? Can you read the serial number?
F2304 502300405041 M00
and the date and time, please.
9th August 2022
and the date and time, please.
9th
My ladies and my lords, this is the same KIMS kit. My ladies and my lords, this is the same KIMS kit. One from Mount Elgon, transmitting 1,000 kilometers away from Nyeri Town. Mount Elgon, 1,000 kilometers away from 2 hours later. How is that possible? 2 hours later, how is that possible? Supposed to have each polling station had its own unique supposed to have each polling station had its own, which was supposed to transmit from the its own unique which IP supposed to transmit from the because of time. I cannot demonstrate IP address. Thousands of forms because of time. I cannot demonstrate with the thousands of forms that we have identified with the same issue. My ladies and my lords, this is how. My ladies and my lords, this is how. Or the complaint that we raised happened. Or the complaint that we raised happened. We did not give this court a fiction. We did not give this court what we gave the court happened. Now, what we gave the court happened, and as we have shown, the 11,000 polling stations, and as we have shown, the 11,000 were transmitted all from that we had complained was staged. Were transmitted all from every KIMS kit was required to have its own unique. Every KIMS kit was required to have its own unique. The only way 11,000 KIMS kits or results can be transmitted 11,000 KIMS kits. One IP can be transmitted is if they were collected. One IP address my senior Paul had. They were collected. Paul Mwangi had, and as probably my senior Paul had. Mayor Mwangi had. I beg your pardon. My time is up. May I have? I beg your pardon. My time is up.
Yes, 2 minutes. Yes, 2 minutes.
My Lord, my ladies and my lords, my Lord, the manner in which the election was stolen, in which the reason why staging was necessary was stolen. Forms were the reason why staging was necessary was forms were intercepted. Whoever intercepted them then had time to decide. Whoever intercepted which ones then had time to decide before uploading them and sending them to the IBC portal. Uploading them and sending them to the IBC that we know there was manipulation. Is because the original there was manipulation. Form 34A is because the original that should have appeared at the National Tallying Center. If transmitted in one transaction National Tallying Center, if transmitted in one transaction on the IBC portal are in black. The forms that are on the IBC portal are in black and white. Were they altered from JPEG? At what point were they altered from JPEG? When did that modification happen? PDF. And when did that modification happen? Was and done what to the other form. Modification we submit to you that we have shown was done that not only was it possible, to you it did happen, we have and shown the fingerprints that not only was it possible, of those who interfered in the system, and the fingerprints are still there. Of those who interfered in the system, thank you for your time. Are still there. Thank you for your time. I don't know whether to be that generous. I donate the 29 seconds to the court. Thank you very much. I donate the 29 seconds to the court. Thank you very much. At the insistence of my seniors.
May it please the court, my name is Kirago Kimani. My learned friend, Mr. May it please the court, my name is Kirago Kimani. My learned friend, Mr. Katwa, the attention of the court, but was asked to wait until the attention of the court, but was completed our presentation. Wait until Ms. Soweto had completed her presentation. Respond to what she has just addressed you on, because this is new material. She has just addressed you. Would like to have directions as new material. And would like to have directions.
Mr. Kiragos,
yes.
Mahan was answering. Mahat was answering the questions. Mahat was answering the questions. We did the same. PowerPoint.
Yes, that's correct.
To demonstrate.
That's correct.
How this staging to demonstrate because we asked how this staging was happening because we asked the forms were being captured in the hair, how being changed. The forms were being captured in the hair and being changed. So what is new here?
What is different is this? Yes. You have a petition and you have rules. What is different is this? How they are. You have a petition and you have rules that say
this was answering a question
present their case. Yes. Where does the first respondent have an opportunity to address these matters? Where does the first respondent have an opportunity to address these matters? At what point in time does the first respondent get a hearing? At what point in time does the first respondent get a hearing?
This was a question by the court. How we do what we do with the demonstration. How this was happening.
Yes.
How we do what we do with the demonstration. On your side, did demonstrate.
Mr. Mahat
on your side.
I appreciate what your ladyship is saying, but Mr. Mahat, with respect, is not on our side. He is a referee. But Mr. Mahat, with respect, is not on our side. He is a referee. Was a candidate. My client on the same side. We may be respondents. Was a candidate. But he called this march. We may be respondents. Not for us, but he called this march. By the Constitution. Not for us. The long and short of it. But it's required by the Constitution.
We are not going to give it
much obliged.
Yes. We are not going to give it
much obliged.
Yes, thank you. Proceed. There were responses from the other. There were responses. I'm beginning with number one, the same order we followed. I'm beginning with number one, the same order we followed. You have responded. So who was next? It was, I think, you have responded. Senior Counsel Jan Mohammed. It was, I was think, her client. Senior Counsel Jan Mohammed followed. So that was her client. Waste time. The same order we followed. So that if you can't use the waste 15 minutes, please. If you can't use them 15 minutes, please.
Leadership, Madam Deputy Chief Justice, my lady and Leadership, Madam Deputy Chief Justice. I was very generous in my lady, and so I'm sure I'm going to be just as generous and patriotic as I am in my rejoinder. So I'm sure I'm going to be just as generous and patriotic as I am in my to donate 7 minutes in my opening. I had donated. I was the first one to donate 7 minutes in my opening. On behalf of the petitioner. In number one, that's the second petitioner. On behalf of the petitioner, we had filed a rejoinder of one, that's the second petitioner. After our original submission. We had filed a rejoinder of the submission. The petitioner's case is very simple. And my lady, all the petitioner's case was limited to a legal issue. All it was the petition was limited to a legal issue. Commissioners vis-à-vis the chairperson. I saw people murmuring. Commissioners vis-à-vis the chairperson. I saw people murmuring. And I want to get this correct. Is it that we should I'm sorry. Because I thought you had a response. You had any question to answer? Because I thought you had a response. My lady, the question I'm going to be answering is actually the rejoinder. My lady, the question I'm going to be answering is actually the rejoinder for purposes of wondering. As the answer to this role. For purposes of wondering is because we are trying to get her to with the rejoinder by the first petitioner. Then we can start with the rejoinder by the first petitioner. Because my actually rejoinder is the response to the question. Because my actually rejoinder is the response to the question of vis-à-vis the chairman and the commission. That's what my interpretation vis-à-vis the chairman and the commission. That's what my interpretation. That's right. To you. I'm sorry about that. That's no problem, my lady. I'll still donate my time. I'm sorry about that. That's no problem, my lady. I'll still donate my time. Yes. Senior Counsel Orengo, it's your turn.
I'm just wondering because
Senior Counsel Orengo,
if I heard the court correctly, there are some questions put to if I heard the court correctly, there are some questions put to Mr. with the rejoinder.
Yes, they will respond with their rejoinder.
With the rejoinder. In our rejoinder, Madam Chief Justice, in our rejoinder. We'll have Madam Chief Justice and members of the court. We'll have giving the rejoinder in our team. Senior Counsel Feroz Norji giving the rejoinder. Senior Counsel Feroz Norji and Senior Counsel Otiende Philip Morgo and Senior Counsel Hafa Philip Morgo. But I begin with Senior Counsel Otiende at the end. But I begin with Senior Counsel Otiende Morgo.
If it may please the ladyship, this honorable court, if it may please the ladyship part, this honorable court, only 3 quick subjects, starting with the issue. I will cover only the 50% plus 1, starting with the issue, ladyship of the 50% plus 1. May it be noted that the question of the voter turnout in this election is a moving target. That the question of the voter turnout in this election is a moving target, and in what circumstances. It is a moving target depending on who's speaking and in what circumstances. The chairman, if you look at paragraph 30, reply of 9th of the chairman at 5 p.m. He says the turnout was 64.6 at 5 p.m. He says the turnout was 64.6 after the fact. That is an affidavit swearing way after the fact. At this same time, in paragraph 21, that is Moses Sunkuli, says it was 56.1. That is Moses Sunkuli, says it was 56, looking at the same Kimskit. At that same time, looking at the same Kimskit, that at various times, by this one of the IBC, that at various times, at one time, the IBC uses the figure of 65.4%. At one time, at another time, the figure of 65.6%. At another time, it uses the figure of 64.6%. My lords, my lady, it is the premise upon which IBC proceeds is wrong. That the premise upon which IBC proceeds is wrong is so as to manipulate the question voter turnout target. Is so as to manipulate the question voter turnout. That the ninth respondent met the constitutional threshold. The ninth respondent met the constitutional threshold. I wish to submit when they didn't. Your Ladyship, my lords, that Article 138 is very clear. That Article 138 number is very clear. Voters must be specified. Total number and that is the denominator. Registered voters must be specified. And that is the denominator. Notice that the IBC exact number of registered voters that confirms the exact number of registered voters and gives 120,452 120,458. What they say is the turnout per the Kimskit. The figure they are seeking to say is the turnout per the Kimskit. The figure they are seeking to use is 22,000,000 to submit 00541. That premise is problematic. Your Ladyship, my Lord. The common denominator to be used is the voter turnout as published in the Gazette. The denominator to be used is the voter turnout as per the published in the Gazette, which ends up with the moving target. The voter turnout as per the Kimskit, which ends up with the moving target. That we wish to submit, Your Ladyship, my Lord. Is it true that the target is moving? If you look at all the permutations, and this is in the supplementary affidavit of Dr. Edgar Otumba, and this is in the supplementary affidavit of Dr. Edgar Otumba, if you take any of the scenarios, we will submit, we have submitted this for ease of reference, and because Dr. Otumba covers this, we have submitted this for ease of paragraph 30, because Dr. Otumba covers those graphs between paragraph 5 and paragraph 30, and puts all those graphs. None of the candidates then achieve 50% plus 1. None of the candidates then achieves 50% plus 1. Rejected votes, you add rejected votes, whatever permutation and their rejected votes, you add rejected votes, whatever permutation and their Ladyship, my lords, we wish to submit. You then need to come to the conclusion, my lords, that even though you try to take time to tamper with the voter turnout, even though they do not achieve that target, to tamper with the voter turnout, they do not achieve that target. Why is it wrong to use the vote turnout as per the so-called Kimskit? To use the vote turnout that it's unlawful as per the so-called Kimskit is also illogical. Other than the fact that it's unlawful, we have it is also 46,229 polling station. 46,229 Kimskit polling station, and all 42,200 98 and all 42,298 in one polling station function failed, and in only one polling station function, 700 voters in that polling station voted, that if the 700 voters in that polling station voted is 100%, the IBC will be telling us that the voter turnout is 100%. Consequence of that. That would be the logical consequence of that. Turnout cannot be something that depends on the interpretation of cannot be something that depends on the interpretation. It must be the denominator the IBC as a percentage of the total registered voters. The denominator, the second point, as a percentage of the total registered voters. And I do not want to go too much into this. My lords, the question, and I do not want to go too much into this, the IBC called the impregnable infrastructure, military, the IBC called infrastructure. I think it's been demonstrated style that it was certainly not at a military demonstrated that it was certainly not at a military grade. To note, Your Ladyship, my lady, it might be that the one question they failed to answer, Your Ladyship, my lady, was why the one question they failed to answer of the streaming of the results at Bomas was their stupid. They have not answered that. The streaming because the results at that military grade they have not answered that was obviously compromised. That military grade infrastructure was obviously compromised. We say that it is bad to have, my lady. We say that it is bad institution to have captured by the state. But it is worse to have one that is captured by the state. But it is worse to have one that is captured by foreigners. That is the position in this. The question here, and that's my last and third and last point, is the question here, and that's my last and third and last point, draws directly from Article 138, and it's a question that draws directly from Article 138. It is very clear of the Constitution. It is very clear. Results are mandatory. The IEBC, not the chair. Once results are received, shall the IEBC, not the chair, and shall verify. Then shall declare results. If the IEBC then shall declare an institution has not tallied, if the IEBC has not verified, as an institution has not tallied, has not verified, then there are no results to be declared. At the end of this analysis, we wish to submit. It is not a question of whether the chair is a hero or otherwise. It is not a question of whether the chair is a hero or otherwise expected of them. It is a question of whether the chair did. It is not enough what was expected of them. Certain regulations. It is not enough to say that there are certain regulations which they themselves made by the first respondent to rely on, which they to breach the express provisions of the Constitution. And now they wish to rely on to breach the express provisions of the Constitution. That in accordance with Article 141, Your Ladyship, only if there is a result Article 140 declared. Only if there is a result properly declared. In this case, none move to challenge. In this case, none was done.
What the chair is inviting you to do is unconstitutional. What the chair is inviting you to do
eminent
is unconstitutional.
Who are involved in the process of making the constitution.
Eminent
persons
some of us on this
who are
side.
involved in the process of making the constitution.
There's a good reason why we've created constitutional commissions. There's a good reason why we've created constitutional commissions
intended
and to create the chair
as what was previously called the supervisor of election.
To create the chair as what was previously called the supervisor of election,
like the auditor general,
there have been an independent
controller of
office.
budget, like the DPP, like the auditor
but
general,
now the chair is inviting you to find
like the DPP.
that his is some sort of imperial chairmanship
or chairpersonship.
Is some sort of in defiance of the constitution
or chairpersonship.
We wish to invite
in
you
defiance of the constitution
to accept that invitation.
We wish to invite you
to amend the constitution
to accept that invitation.
To amend the constitution,
my lady,
belatedly.
My lord.
At the end of the day,
my lord.
At the end of the day, the only question will be, at the end of the day, did the chair act in accordance with the constitution? Is it fair to invite
in
you
accordance with the constitution
to find that the other commissioners do not matter?
invite you
The chair of IBC is a first among equals.
do not matter?
Just like the chair of IBC is a first among equals.
Just like the judges of this court.
Just like in this court.
But the fact,
they are
your
leadership,
just like the judges of this court.
You are the chief justice,
your leadership,
and you are the president of this court.
You are the chief justice,
the constitution
and you are the president of this
you
court.
to exercise veto powers
Yet
over the other
constitution
would not allow you to exercise veto powers over the other colleagues.
Can have such
powers
would the chair
over the other
colleagues
that he can have such
ultimately
powers over the other colleagues.
Ultimately, my lords,
ultimately, it is the decision of the majority that must be the decision of the court. It is the decision of the majority that must be the decision of the court.
As we are here today,
and similarly, the decision of the IEBC,
as we are here today,
the decision of the IEBC is that there was stopped by the referee. If it was in court, it would be a mistrial.
Was stopped by the referee.
By their own admission,
if it was in court,
they
it
have
would
said
be a mistrial.
That things happened which should not have happened.
They have said
therefore it was not complete. That things happened which should not have happened, and therefore it was not complete. In 2017, this court made history by nullifying the first 2017
presidential election
in this continent
by
nullifying
the
second presidential election in this continent,
and I think only the second.
In this year, it is the IEBC that is making history. In this year, it is the IEBC that is making history that they did wrong. It is the first electoral body to concede that they did wrong. That you cannot override that decision by IEBC itself. That you cannot override that decision by IEBC itself because it's made by the majority.
I wish to stop there for now. Thank you, my lord.
My Lady Chief Justice, members of the court, my Lady Chief Justice, members of the court, I address the court. Firstly, the issue on that the issue in making your final decisions, in reviewing, in making your own decisions, in reviewing of your own views, respondents, the petitioners, the parties who have addressed you, respondents, petitioners, parties who have addressed you. We would be praying for the prayers, we would be praying for and the orders that we have sought. And in doing this, and orders that we have sought. And in doing this, may I first the principle that would be applicable, the principle that would in approaching your decision and judgment. In approaching your decision and judgment. The court has heard today from my senior. The court has heard today from my senior AG Emeritus Muigai, in answer to your question, that it was the intention. In answer to your question, that it was the intention the makers of. It was the intention of the makers that it was the intention of the makers that commission should have an executive chairperson. We have learned much by that, but that is not. We have learned much by that. But that is not what your ladyships and lordships can proceed on. And your ladyships we have to proceed on what is in the Constitution. We have to proceed on what is there is in the Constitution. No provision in the Constitution. There is no provision in the Constitution, even if that were the intention. There is no even if that were the intention to override. There is no intention any of the other commissioners or their views, any of their other commissioners or their views, change or their actions. The Constitution's clear provisions. The Constitution's clearly Article 138(3)(c). Article 138(3)(c) has to be done by the IBC. The tallying, has to be done by the verification has to be done by the verification has to be done by the declaration. Decision has to be made by the IBC. Decision has to be made by the IBC. Specific and where there is to be taken in an executive fashion step by the chairman, it's provided by 138(10). By the chairman, it's provided by 138(10) of the declaration of the result will be made by the result will be made by the chairperson. It is an important consideration. When it is an important consideration when the question arose of the question arose two aspects. One that although there was a further day, although still in hand, a further day, the chairperson still in hand rushed the chairperson to judgment without the 27 constituency results, without the 27 constituency results of the doctrine of necessity, because said of the doctrine of necessity, said Professor Kindiki, in justification of this, in justification of this. Doctrine of necessity was not necessary at all. Doctrine of necessity was not necessary at all. Crisis at that moment. There was no crisis at that moment. They were, he indicated, they were in great danger of their lives. Indicated. But 20 minutes later, of their lives, they were shaking hands with his client. 20 minutes later, and his client they were shaking hands with a very able-bodied chairperson. And his client was shaking hands with a very able-bodied left chairperson. Hall. Nobody left imminent expectation of watching carnage. The imminent expectation lying all over of watching carnage. And bodies lying all over the floor. There were church people, 2 rows of church people. There were church people, 2 rows of church people. The choirs, and I am grateful to them, not entertained only but inspired. Through those hours and hours. Entertained only but inspired. There was no imminent danger. Hours and hours. There was no imminent danger. Continuous. They could not resist the temptation of showing. Continuous. They could not resist the temptation of showing. Still photograph. In order to show still photograph that there was a necessity. In order to show not that there was a necessity. Very important. No, there was not. Realize that we do not use these exaggerated. That we do not use these exaggerated in order to come to a justification of in order to come to a justification of the plain wrong. Was the issue the Constitution being followed or not? And that is where the concentration has been lacking. And that is where the concentration has been lacking. An important aspect of this respondents of an important bringing forward the doctrine of necessity is that bringing forward the doctrine of necessity dangerous, is that it legal, is a very dangerous justification. Legal, it shows justification. It shows the need to bypass the constitutional need to bypass justifications, the constitutional, and arrive at a justifications and arrive at a convenient and self-serving justification. And self-serving, dangerous justification, because it has been used before by lawyers, because it has been used before by lawyers, Kindiki, as it has been used in Rhodesia. It has been used in the Rhodesia lateral declaration of independence, to lateral declaration of independence, freedom fighters who were resisting the Universal Declaration the Universal Declaration and the doctrine of necessity goes one step forward. And the doctrine of necessity goes one step forward. That if power has been usurped, that if power has been otherwise than in compliance with the Constitution, otherwise than in compliance with the Constitution, the courts should still fittingly, I think, by Professor Kindiki, and placed before the people of Kenya. By Professor Kindiki, and we placed before the people of Kenya. Not only rejected, but rejected consciously. Not only rejected, so that the President is consciously. A submission which failed, the President is not a submission which failed, the Supreme Court of our land rejecting this ever for use of our land, rejecting this ever for use in Kenya. I'm happy to say that again from the respondent's side, I'm happy to say that again from the respondent's side, my learned friend, I draw some inspiration. And that is from my learned friend, my learned counsel, Fred Gatia, both learned and friend, my learned friend put forward both learned and friend, and he said, let us get at the substantive truth. And he said, let us get at the substantive truth. He put forward a criteria completely different from, and I'm happy to say, yes, and let's do that. I'm happy to say, yes, let's do that. So, when we put forward the manipulated postponement of manipulated and postponement of Mombasa and Kakamega, that the Gazette noticed the power which Mr. that the Gazette noticed the power which Mr. was illegal because used in the Gazette notice was illegal because lied in the Gazette notice and put forward he just half lied of what the power and put he forward has, just half of what the power he has and so when we put these forward. And so they could not reply, when we but those who attempted the reply said they could not reply, but this is his power, this is his, this is but look at this section here and he's an executive, he's this section here and he's an executive, he's this. Senior counsel Gatia's Senior counsel was a more important and relevant principle was approach. A more important so we say and relevant what is the substantive approach. Truth so we say behind what is the substantive truth behind the lying the postponement Gazette notice behind the lying before Gazette the notice the self-serving amendment before the regulation 67 by which he changed regulation 67 by which he changed this chairperson changed constitutional provision that the constitutional provision and we received the papers 34A and B must be dealt with by the IBC Commission must be instead he changed by the IBC Commission returning instead he changed it to it has been pointed out there is no office. It has been pointed out and there is no he put it there. Office. What is the substantive truth and behind he put this? It there. What is the substantive truth behind this? Behind the fact what is the substantive truth? Several orders behind the fact the server has not been several orders open. From you. The server has not been what fully open. What is the substantive truth? Behind the fact that what this is not the substantive truth? This behind the fact that this is not the first time disobeyed the court. Chairperson has what is the substantive truth of the what is the substantive truth from his behavior? The absence of any from his behavior to Article 10. Any reference Article 10 is values. Article 10 they are national values. Is values. And the beauty they of our national constitution values. Is and that the it is beauty of our constitution is of government that it is not only a manual finance will be dealt with this way so and so will be finance appointed will that be dealt way with this way he can resign so and so will be appointed or this way. Or that he can resign or he must be removed or this or that each and every specific values set out there. Its specific values 81 set out there. 86, 81, and 86. At no point, and at no point no day spent and the whole today, this morning, has there been any reference today, this morning? Why has there been any reference? Respondents, why? Council, or respondents, or by any reference to instructions, or by any reference to these values we kept in mind. That these values is how we advance. By postponing, this is how we advance. By postponing, this is the value we advance. By not checking, this is the value we advance. The wrong printing by not checking the ballot paper, the wrong printing of the ballot paper. 10. How did we advance? There is even one more Article duty 10. on them. There is even one more duty on them. It is that it is part of the duty. It is that it is part of the whole commission duty to ensure the whole commission to the removal of any impediments, the removal of any functioning and the purpose and the aims of the functioning and the purpose and the aims of. They have breached even that, even the passive duty. They have breached even and that, we say even the passive duty. Yes. And we say that is what we look at. The substantive truth of all these things is what we look at. And the substantive truth of all these things, it is clear. And in that, once you do this, is an election. It is clear that which this is an election. Which brazenly which is shamefacedly, brazenly, without remorse, shamefacedly, saying we did without remorse. When we were doing wrong, saying we did you do right. What you can about when it. We were doing wrong. Nothing happened to me in 2017 personally. Nothing happened to me in 2017 personally. It is all right. We say no. It is we all say right. To the court. We say no. That not only is the court that not only petitions we pray to succeed. But very importantly, we pray if you succeed. But very importantly, if you find of the Constitution, there is by the chairperson of the Constitution, it is a chairperson. It is not necessary. It is not for the court to take any steps to his removal. For the court, there is a constitutional steps to his removal. There is a constitutional process to remove him. There is a constitutional process to remove him for the court. But there is no important duty by the court. On the court, there is that if you find an important duty by the court, that if you find there are all these serious violations, it is important there are all these serious violations. Makes a finding. It is important. It holds that we hold the court makes a finding that. It holds the chairperson violated or we find this that article the or that value violated and that this article or that value and that those are set out accordingly. Thank you. We pray accordingly. Thank you.
Having just come in, good morning, your ladyships and my lords. Having just come in, good morning, I'll take as short as my lords possible. I'll take as short as in order possible. Not to repeat, I will be very brief. In order not to repeat, I will be arising from the questions asked by the court, arising from the questions, put it on record, asked that by the court, and of course, I just like to put it on record, rapid submissions of my learned colleague, Mr. In particular, the very sometimes you miss submissions exactly what he's saying, but I picked out. Sometimes you miss that he exactly what he's saying, but I picked out that he did not at all mention KIMS kit was converted to the provision of for the KIMS kit was converted to the provision of PDF. of the tender document, and we have provided evidence of it, did provide the tender document, and we have provided evidence of it, did provide color photograph, the image using a compression technique, compressed color photograph compliance image with using JPEG. A compression technique that is in compliance was never changed unless it was changed. Requirement was never changed unless it was changed, and with the sole intention of rigging fraudulently the just concluded presidential election. Intention of rigging the just concluded presidential election. My learned friend again, Mr. Mahat, challenged my learned friend again, Mr. Mahat, that if there was a program that could convert a PDF document or could edit a PDF document, convert a PDF document or could edit a PDF document, I suppose he meant the IBC. They would buy it. They would buy it. At that point did ask whether he's an employee of the IBC, but I was assured at that point did ask whether he's an employee. I would like to state for the record not that the software for editing to state for the record PDF document that the software is available free of charge. PDF document is available free of charge or the IBC and can be downloaded by and we would request that millions not or public money not be used to would request that millions not or public money not be used that exist. But for editing a PDF document, the programs that exist, Adobe for editing a PDF document include Foxit PDF editor, Acrobat DC, PDF filler by Airslate, PDF editor, PDF Element, filler by Airslate, Nitro PDF productivity, FineReader PDF for Windows and Mac, PDF productivity, PDF FineReader PDF for Windows and Mac, Adobe PDF Pack. And I would also invite the court perhaps to try any one of them out. And I would also invite the court perhaps to try any one of them out. I just want to add that staging is admitted even by the IBC. Staging is admitted, does not lie in the mouth of IBC. Counsel. So it's does not lie in the mouth of the council. There was such a facility to deny Mr. Maina Wachira Nyaga. There was such a facility. David, Mr. 1 and 5 on 29th August 2022 of his affidavit confirms there was a middleware on 29th August 2022 transmission confirms there was a middleware, and this is also confirmed by one of our IT experts, Mr. Benson Wesonga. This is also confirmed by one of our IT experts, Mr. Benson, the position of middle. There was indeed man in the middle. An attack from the position of middle, man in the middle. At page, the evidence we produced of the data analysis by George Njoroge of the data analysis sworn on 28th August 2022 and filed on the same day. His affidavit sworn on 28th August 2022 and filed on the same day. Mr. Njoroge says 6873 of his report. Mr. Njoroge says the results from the tallying the results from the polling station tallying between the results from the polling station of August tallied between the 937 of August 1,000 times 837,000 times 837,000 times 137,000 on the 847 times of August 38,000 on the 9th 353 on the 10th of August 35,000 times 355 on the 10th 75,000 times 16,291 74 12th 11 8 16,291 13th August 14,357 4th August 24,357 94th August 24,000 times 897 numbers, the same numbers were being brought back into the system. That from numbers, the same numbers were being brought back into the system. Otherwise, 34 trying to find the magic number that would give the first respondent. And trying to find the magic number that would give the first respondent finally the win. I would like to make a few comments on the just concluded exercise. I would like to make a few comments on the just concluded scrutiny exercise and state that very shortly scrutiny exercise and state that very shortly, despite the good intentions of the court, despite the servers' intentions of the court, the servers were not opened. Unless, of course, there will be another opportunity for us to make a few comments. Unless, of course, there will be another opportunity for us to make a few comments.
Conversation
there will
about the report at this stage. Any conversation we will allow you time about the report at this stage.
Okay. I want to say that
deal with the report.
Okay. I want to say that the evidence that has been presented by the petitioners, the evidence that has been presented by the petitioners, orchestrated and fraudulent scheme, well-orchestrated was executed fraudulent scheme that was executed through with military precision. Let me agree with my learned friend Mr. Mahat. With military precision. Let me agree with my learned friend Mr. Mahat. He says military grade on the use of the word him to military. He says military grade, the rigging, but I differ with him to say executed with military precision, executed with military, and given the evidence that has been availed, using, and given the evidence that has been availed, using, and I'm now using another military word, mercenaries, and I'm now using another military word, for mercenaries, engaged for that purpose. I am not surprised that none of those gentlemen I'm referring to as mercenaries have not sworn an affidavit. Gentlemen I'm referring to as mercenaries have not sworn an affidavit. Leave the country to its own devices. Disappear. By the grace of God, we have remained peaceful to its own devices. And I pray by the grace of God, we have remained peaceful. And finally, I will yield the floor to my learned senior, Mr. James. And finally, I will yield the floor to my learned senior, Mr. James.
Milady, Madam Chief Justice, we would like a clarification from the court. We would like a clarification from the court. Responses relate to questions of law that have a reason from our presentation, or whether have a reason from our presentation, or whether it is to rehash for their case afresh, to rehash and to introduce their case afresh, and to introduce new evidence.
We know what constitutes a rejoinder. It's a response what constitutes a rejoinder. It's a response to issues of law arising from response. Just to remind counsel, it was about just to remind matters of law. It was about responding to matters of law.
Madam Chief Justice, I also rise to take, Madam Chief Justice, I also rise to take, the court was treated to a so-called live demonstration. The court was treated to a so-called shall we be given an opportunity? We don't require more than 3 or 4 minutes. Given an opportunity to indicate that don't require more than 3 or 4 minutes is not to indicate that what, because otherwise shown this image is now all over the country, because otherwise sensational image about image is now all over the country, a sensational image about forms with names of people. All that I would request, Madam Chief Justice, is an opportunity for all that I would request, Madam Chief Justice, is an opportunity for rebuttal. On the basis that that is new evidence, it was never on the played. Basis that that is those new are not evidence, polling stations in it was never the petition. It's those totally are not polling stations. It will be unfair for us to walk away. It's totally new. Without being given an opportunity. It will be unfair for us to walk away without being given an opportunity to defend ourselves.
Unless the court walks away from the questions, unless the court walks away, you ask for a demonstration. The questions that the court asked, the staging was for a demonstration. It was a specific question. Or how and similar questions were asked. It was a specific question. To our friends to the left, and similar questions. A lot of new material was to our friends to the left brought in. A lot of new material was because brought in. These were questions. We kept quiet from the court. Because we knew these were questions, evidence from the court should be kept away from the court in the search for truth. Evidence should be kept away from the court in the search for truth.
what we are doing, and then at the end of it to consider what we are doing, because we are also checking whether that is new evidence. Consider, because we are also checking whether that is new evidence.
I begin by thanking the court for giving me this opportunity. Begin by thanking the court for giving me this opportunity. My remarks as part of the rejoinder for my remarks petitioner. As part of the rejoinder for the petitioner. My lords, when I used to be at Alliance High School, my lords, when I used to be at Alliance High School, every year, Professor Giddu is very happy about me mentioning school. Professor Giddu is very happy about when I used to be at Alliance High School. Mentioning school. Every year I took when I used to be at Alliance High School. Every most year, of the time there were Shakespearean in a school plays. Most of the time there were Julius Caesar. Much about do about nothing. Julius Caesar. Much about do about nothing. Can I recover my 4 seconds? Can I recover my 4 seconds? Yes, I was saying I acted in every school play. I was saying I acted in every and when school play for 6 years. A practitioner of law. And when I tended to have the habit of law. Every time I would appear in court, I tended to have the habit to take some verse. Every time I would appear in court, those to take some verse plays. Be it a comedy or a tragedy plays, be it a comedy or a tragedy. S.M. Mutiano, one time, from whom I learned a lot, S.M. Mutiano, from whom I learned a lot as a young man, he told me when I, in the practice of criminal law, he told me when I took my seat, did you look at the statements? Did you look at the statements? Analyze the elements or the ingredients of the offense. The elements or the ingredients of the offense. Always remember as a lawyer that that oration substance is not good counts when you appear before the court of law. Counts. And I'm saying this because in 2017, when he had a similar petition before your lordship, when he had a similar petition before your lordship, the advocates who are in that, some of the advocates who are in that, acting for the respondents when we presented our petition, acting for the respondents when we presented our petition, what we presented before the court said that was a science fiction. What we presented before the court was a science fiction. And I'm not surprised that even at the beginning, and I'm not surprised that even covered in the media at the beginning, that what we are presented before you covered in the media is fiction. That what we are presented before you, and because it is fiction, you had a lot of speeches. And because it is fiction, I think do not belong. You had a lot of speeches which I think do not belong to a courtroom. Should have been delivered in some theater. They probably should have been delivered in some theater. My learned friend, Professor Giddu Muigai, have poetry like my learned friend, whom I know, Professor Giddu Muigai, having attended the same school as I am, whom I know, I did, having attended the same school as I am, as I did. We share a lot of things in common. We have presented before your lordships. We have presented before your lordships based on environments which are contained in the petition. We have placed evidence before your lordships. We have placed evidence before your lordships. The petitioners did not ask the petition to be struck out. Did not state they filed volumes to be struck out. Instead, they filed evidence, volumes and volumes, and I've addressed you of affidavit evidence on matters relating to the petition at length. And yesterday, on matters relating to the petition, I remember when your lordships and my ladies asked questions to the respondents, and my ladies, my learned friend Mr. Giddu, the respondents, Muigai, my learned friend Mr. said Muigai, those questions were said difficult questions, but not they are not as difficult as the questions which were directed. But not, they are not as against difficult the petition as the questions which were directed. But having said against that, the petitioner. But having said an important point about this new constitution. There is an important point about this new constitution. Your Lordships, and I'm so happy that Your Ladyship, Your Lordship, some members of this court were part of the process. Some members of this court drafting part of the process of drafting this Constitution. My Lady Justice Njoki asked a question which was very pointed. My Lady Justice, why did we create this question which was very pointed? Why did we create this commission? These independent officers. Why did we create and secure these independent officers in the Constitution and secure their tenure? And in the answer is that we are dealing with an imperial executive. And the answer is that we are dealing. The commissions with an imperial insurance policy. The commissions for the protection and insurance policy of the sovereignty of the people. For the protection Article 249 of the sovereignty of the people. Commissions and independent officers. The commissions and independent to protect the sovereignty are required of the people. To protect the sovereignty and all the people. Better tool to use. And what better tool in order to protect the sovereignty of the people than in order to protect the sovereignty of the people and free elections, have fair conducted by free elections conducted by an independent body. And this Constitution requires that the elections must be transparent. And this Constitution requires that the elections must be transparent, administered in a neutral, efficient, and they must be accurate, administered and accountable manner. Efficient, accurate, and accountable manner. That if the Electoral Commission was indeed carrying out an election that was free and fair, was indeed carrying out an election that was free and fair, transparent, they will be offering all the evidence, including what is in the servers. They will be offering all the evidence. This is what went on. Including what is in the servers. This is the return. This is what went on the elections that were held on the 9th of August. This is the return 2022 of the elections that were held on the 9th of August. I thought that we were making progress. 2022. Your Lordships and I thought that we were making progress. There was a time, Your Lordships and that we used to file petitions against. There was a time, that we used to file petitions against President of the Republic of Kenya under the old Constitution. President of the Republic of Kenya under the old Constitution. And if you approach the Electoral Commission before you file the petition, you had access Commission before you file election documents and election materials. You had access before filing the petition to election documents and election materials. Before and I did that so many times. My other friend Firoz Norji would tell you. And I did that so many times. My other friend Firoz Norji would tell you because I was a petitioner. Now, and he filed such a petition. To get information from the Electoral Commission even after to get information from the Electoral Commission, election has been conducted, filing a petition and an election has been conducted, the road is like to hell. The road, because that's what it is, to hell. And in Article 249, that's what it is. The sovereign, and in Article 249, who is the people of Kenya, the sovereign, who is the people of Kenya, of the Electoral Commission, require of the as a state organ of the Electoral Commission secure as a state organ the observance of democratic values and principles, the observance of democratic values and principles, not just in the constitutionalism of the elections, but even the way it runs its affairs of the elections, but even the way it runs its affairs, that they are conducting elections and that they are conducting elections principles of democracy and valuing and securing the principles of democracy, and yet within the body itself, Article 10 of the Constitution, and yet within the body itself, these principles that are they don't value these principles that discretionary are not. They are every state organ, every person discretionary is required. They are every state organ in accordance with Article is required to act in accordance with the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. What does the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, not only in this case, but even in previous occasions, in the circumstances, not only with this case, but even in previous occasions, in the Electoral Commission, instead of having a commission of seven commissioners, instead of having a commission of seven commissioners, and you have seen the factionalism here, you have a trioca, you have a triumvirate, that is moving together all the time, that is moving together all with the Secretary of the Commission. This is not with the Secretary of the Commission. Constitution desires.
This is not
contemplated. If you look at Article 88 of the Constitution, if you look at Article 88 of the Commission of the Constitution, in relation to the mandate of the Commission and referenda, in relation to the supervision of elections, article and referenda 88. At the end of that article, this is important. 88, and I think this is sub-article important. 5. The Commission sub-article shall exercise the powers and perform its function in accordance with this Constitution and national legislation. In accordance with this Constitution and national legislation. So that where the chairperson comes before you, and show conduct that is in consonance with the Constitution. Is that a matter that this court can just is that a matter that this court can just, when the Constitution says in Article 2, when the Constitution says in Article Law of the Republic, that this Constitution is the supreme law of the Republic and all state organs, and binds all persons and all state organs, and no person may claim or exercise state authority except as authorized under this Constitution. Or exercise state authority except as authorized under this Constitution. That Article 88. And throughout the Constitution, that Article 88 throughout talks about the Constitution, except in 2 instances. Talks about the Commission, the declaration in 2 instances of the results. One of them being in a presidential declaration of the results. So I urge in a presidential election. My ladies and my lords, so I urge that where there's been an infringement of the Constitution, that where there's been an infringement of the Constitution, however good the outcome, but there has been an infringement of the Constitution, but there has been an infringement of the Constitution, how we should conduct elections. Because the Constitution says how we should conduct elections. It does not matter whether you get 10 million votes or 20 million votes. It does not matter whether you get 10 million votes. If you get it by murder and killing people, if you get it by murder and killing people, get it if you by falsifying documents, however the numbers you end up getting in an election, however the numbers would not be the candidate of election in an election contemplated under Article would not be the candidate of election of the contemplated under the process 81 matters of the Constitution. And anything in violation of the Constitution, if you look at the anything in violation of the Constitution, if you look at the infringement of the Constitution broadly, violation of the Constitution in relation to state officers, violation of the Constitution in relation to state officers, including the President, members of commissions, including members of commissions. Any infringement of the Constitution normally would attract any consequences. Infringement of the Constitution normally would attract, because it's a matter that of removal, this Constitution, because it's a matter that on this Constitution. And that's why I always frowns on. I appreciate the fact that. And that's why I always. This Constitution requires of citizen. Every Constitution has an obligation. Citizen. To respect, every person has an obligation and defend this Constitution. To this petition is in defense of the Constitution. This petition is in defense of the Constitution because there is an election that has taken place, because there is an election that has taken place in office that is putting somebody in, or is attempting to put somebody in office, or is attempting to put somebody in office, not only without meeting the requirements, not only quantitatively, in terms of votes, not only quantitatively, but also in terms of what in terms the Constitution requires, but also in terms of the conduct of elections should be like. The conduct of elections should be like. Referred to and the Malani Senior, Mr. Firoz Neoroji, these days referred to a football. Football has many rules these days, and they keep on improving. Has many rules. However many goals they keep on improving. If it is from an offside position, however many goals whether you are Messi or Ronaldo, from an offside position, whether you are Messi or Ronaldo, it will not count. I urge the court. Do not count. So I am an optimist. I think we are doing very well in this republic. I am an optimist. I think we are doing very well in this republic. I think we are coming from very far. Practicing these courts, when things were extremely difficult. Practicing these courts, I know we are making progress. Difficult. A lot of progress. I know we are making progress. There were times to file a petition like this was not easy. There were times to file a petition like this was not easy. Serving that petition will be very difficult. And that is not just because of legislation and a new constitution. The courts and that is not just because of legislation and a new constitution. Many the courts had to protect the people. Many times. To protect the people. Those who govern them, particularly. Against those who govern them, particularly. Invite your lordships. Are therefore looking at invite your the article dealing with leadership and integrity. That looking at the article dealing with leadership and integrity. It's not a matter that the court has been placed before you on. It's not a matter that the court can gloss over. On. Gloss over. This court said in 2017 in the Raila petition. This court said in 2017 electoral commission comes before you that with the same kind of infractions and transgressions, with the same kind of infractions and transgressions, to take this court measures against it, to take the commission measures against and its leadership. The commission that isn't the Raila and its leadership. Judgment of 2017. That isn't the Raila. In 2013, this same judgment commission. Of 2017. In 2013, this same commission was not there at that time. Fortunately for the chairperson, the fact that petition was not allowed, but the court, despite the fact that that petition was not allowed, was not abused by the going-ons in the electoral commission. Was not abused by the going-ons in the electoral commission. The comments that were made by the court at that time. The comments at least a few people were taken to court, although that case is still going on. At least a few people were taken to court, although that case is still going on. This court, and reading the Supreme Court Act, this court, and reading the Supreme Court Act, together Section 259 of the Constitution, with Article 259 of the Constitution, talks to how this Constitution should be, which talks to how this Constitution should be, and more particularly when it says in a manner, and more particularly when it says that promotes in a manner the values, the purposes and principles of this Constitution. The values, the purposes and principles of this Constitution. Contributes to good governance. And contributes to good governance. So I urge this court, with all the humility, I urge that this court, although this is a petition basically under Article 140, although this is a petition basically under Article 140, as defenders and protectors of this Constitution, as defenders and protectors of this Constitution, with respect cannot allow what has happened at IBC, with respect cannot allow what has happened at IBC without some kind of action in the lines that was suggested by some kind of senior. Action in the lines that was suggested by my impunity must be punished. Firoz Nordji. Impunity must be punished. Impunity must be punished. And impunity must be punished breeds arrogance. And impunity and punished breeds arrogance. Leads to arbitrary exercise of power. Leads to arbitrary exercise of power. And without that being done in this commission, without which that has got the protection of the Constitution, without which the court making some interventions, protection of the Constitution, without the court making some interventions, a divided commission, a divided with a triumvirate that runs with a triumvirate the affairs that of a commission that is supposed to protect and defend the sovereignty, is supposed to protect the people and defend the sovereignty. And what I'm saying in a nutshell, and what I'm saying that this election cannot pass, that this election on account of violation of the Constitution, even by on account the constitutional dictates how this commission should run its affairs. The constitutional dictates how this commission should run its affairs in the manner dictated by the Constitution. If they cannot conduct their affairs in the manner dictated by the Constitution over an election, then how can they that election have over an election legitimacy to the people of Kenya and to the world? Legitimacy to the people of Kenya and to the world. And this would be my last point. Secondly, and this would be my last point, that if you look at Article 138, if you look at Sub-Article 4, 138, Sub-Article and 4, my learned friend Mr. Otiende addressed you on this, and my learned friend Mr. Otiende addressed you on this requirement for that a successful candidate requirement getting 50% plus a successful candidate getting 50% plus one of the votes cast is not an idle provision in the Constitution. It's not an idle. It requires of the Commission to come with it before your Lordship seriously. It requires of the Commission to come with this contestation before your Lordship seriously, and put the numbers before you in rebuttal to the numbers that we put before you. In rebuttal to the case that we put before you. My friend Mr. Mahat, who is also my very good friend, my little friend Mr. Mahat, in his address, also my very good friend, he was not talking about what in his address the law requires or what the Constitution requires. What you were saying, this is what the law requires or what the Constitution requires. This is what the King's kids. You were saying, this is what we do. This is what there was no constitutional or legal foundation that he was resting his argument. There was no constitutional or legal foundation that he was resting his argument. My lady and therefore, your lordships, my lady and my ladies ask the your lordships to apply the provisions of the Constitution to the letter holistically, the provisions of the Constitution, and allow to the letter holistically petition. And allow and return this country and petition back to the people, and return this country and back and to the people. Proper choice be made sovereign of the person who is going to lead proper choice Kenya be made in the next of the person who is going to lead Kenya in the next 5 years.
Your Ladyship, Madam Chief Justice, Your Ladyship, Madam Deputy Chief Justice, Madam Chief Justice, Your Ladyship, and my Lords of the Supreme Court, Deputy Chief Justice, Your Ladyship, and my Lords of the Supreme Court. The petition that was filed by the first petitioner, to recap it, the petition that was filed by the first petitioner to recap it was very simple. By the second petitioner, was very limited to a legal issue. Amended. It was very limited to a legal position vis-à-vis it was the election and the role of the commissioners vis-à-vis the election and the role of the commissioners. And I think Justice Lenola Ment said something about tweeting, and I think Justice Lenola Ment said something about tweeting and when this petitioner came, but in a nice way, and I had said it in my opening address. When this petitioner came, and yesterday Mr. Ngatia said, Senior Counsel said something very, and yesterday Mr. Ngatia said, Senior Counsel said something very, very. This is one country. I mean, it's our country. Even he said, this is one country. That but there was a caveat that seems to have been missed out. If there was a caveat that seems to have been missed out, who comes to challenge a presidential election as required by the law, challenge a presidential election targeted as being a surrogate by the law. That was repeated. You still get targeted as being a surrogate because that was repeated. There seems to be caveats in these things that we don't seem to know about. There seems to be caveats in these things that we don't seem to know about. Justice Njoki asked a very direct question. My lady, Justice Njoki asked a very direct question. Six commissioners and the chairman, because we seem to be getting commissioners and the chairman, very empirical chairman, getting in This morning, we got absolutely no idea, except this morning, the court was taken to no idea. Section 11A and B of the IEBC Section 11A and B. We were told nothing more. IEBC From what I can now see, we were told nothing more. Commissioners are supposed to be flower girls and page boys commissioners are supposed to be flower girls, with the chairman being the bride or the bridegroom, as the case may be. With the chairman being the bride or the bridegroom, as the case may be. The intention of the Constitution. That surely was not the intention of the Constitution. That's because I was actually waiting for that answer just as much as your Lordship and late Lordships and Ladyship was. For that answer just as much as your Lordship and late Lordships and Ladyship was. That's all you were told. Nothing given. Please go to 11A. That's all you were told. An umpire, and I'll use it in the cricket term, because in football it's called umpire, and I'll use it in the cricketing term, because in football it's called referee. But here in the cricketing terms, it's called an umpire. It is supposed to be an independent umpire. I was a bit surprised yesterday when I heard words. I was a bit surprised yesterday when I heard words like, and surprisingly, the shock and awe tactics. And surprisingly, came out in one of the protagonists. The ones, the protagonists of We've Won, and that was in one of the affidavits. The protagonists of We've Won, and that was in one of the affidavits. And these are the direct words that an umpire is independent as they are claiming to be. So how is this umpire as independent as they are claiming to be? That is my client's case, that we need an independent body. That is my client's case, that we need an independent body. By the umpire, the second get one, over it. We were told, quote, by the umpire, we were told by one of the protagonists, quote, move on. We were told by one of the protagonists, if there has been a breach of a constitutional, if there has been a breach of a constitutional 138, and as it has been our submission, if there is a breach, do we just move on? That's what we are being told. If there is a breach, the transgressions that anybody is doing. That's what we are being told. Forget the transgressions that anybody is doing. In the opening day after the petitioners had made some submissions, asked a question which I didn't see anybody answering. Some submissions asked a question regarding Regulation 87.3. He asked a question regarding Regulation 87.3 that if it should be struck down, where he had already been done, so that that was the regulation which was in place. It's already been done. So if your lordships and your ladyship will look at my submissions, if your lordships and your ladyship will look at my submissions, and we specifically addressed that we had filed. What is a nullity? Specifically addressed, and I believe it is in the McFoy case. What is a nullity? It's an English authority, and I believe that we have quoted in our original submissions. That we have I hope Justice Lenola answers your question. Thank you. So I hope, because I think nobody here answers your question seriously. They didn't answer them. Because I think nobody here, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, they didn't answer facetious at all. And I don't mean to be disrespectful. As far as from what I can see at all, is that this, as far as from what I can see, 138 is that this 3C by the law, by Article 138, we were told commission, but it doesn't say commissioners. That was a distinction we were told yesterday. But it doesn't say commissioners. That was a distinction being made yesterday. It says commissioners. It doesn't say commissioners, but commission. All those commissioners are appointed. Not at the same time, but go through the same rigorous process. Not at the same time, but all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. Does it mean all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others? Which means, like I said, and I repeat again, anybody else? Flower girls? These, like I said, and I repeat again, are just flower girls. The intention. And page boys could not have been the intention. Cannot be people who drafted this. Could not have been the intention. We go back to where we started from, and I've said that in my original submissions. We go back to where we started from, and I've said that in my original submissions. Know where we came from. Where did we come from? We need to know where we came from. That cannot be the issue. One man show. The other issue that Chief Justice asked yesterday. The other issue that the Chief Justice asked to everybody, and that's where why was it not declared to everybody, and that's where these commissioners had walked out the transparency and accuracy. These commissioners had walked out. Nobody has given us transparency as we sat through this today. Nobody has given us the answer as we sat through this today. Why was it not declared that there were these problems? 27 constituencies. Why was it not declared that there were these problems? 27 because there was a problem. Nothing. We We don't want to go into Maina Kiai case, but you were quoted. I don't want to go into Maina Kiai case, but the Supreme Court, which I called Raila of the Supreme Court, which was Raila 1 or 2, which I called. But please, before just looking at 287, please look at paragraph 287. Please look at paragraph 290. I don't want to repeat it, but this court specifically said it is in my original submission. This court specifically said it is in my original submission. The IEBC. We fault the appellant, who was the current chairman, IEBC, for there being no verification by the commission. For there being no verification by the commission. It's polling stations. We've been told we've misread the section because it's polling stations. With due respect, the National Tallying Center. If it was going to be only polling stations, for the public to know there were mistakes here. There were no mistakes. It is for the public to know there were mistakes here. There were no mistakes by the court yesterday. Why a question was asked by the running tallying stop. Why did nobody's given us an answer. The running tallying stop. The difficult questions. Nobody's given us an answer. That we were to get answers for. All the difficult questions. That we were to get answers for. And as Wanjiku, I keep on saying. As we have not received and as Wanjiku, I keep on saying whatsoever. We have no affidavits. In fact, the sad part is whatsoever. Despite this no affidavits being consolidated, the sad part is we were considered the surrogates. Nobody sent us any papers to sign. We were considered the surrogates. Nobody sent us any papers to sign. I have said, and I have this was what I was thinking of last night, as I have said, before I went to bed. This was what I was thinking of last night. When it is established before I went to bed that a state officer is subverting the Constitution and the rule of law, officer is subverting the Constitution and the rule of law by procedural niceties. The court's hands are not shackled. This is the beauty of this procedural Constitution that we have. This is the beauty of this transformative that we have. Some people say it's a very overused transformative, but in these circumstances it's a very overused and can bite when these circumstances it's ideal. The toothless and can bite when occasion demands and buried. The toothless Madam Chief Justice and honourable judges of this court, Madam Chief Justice and honourable judges of this court, bite and fight for the glory. In closing, whilst we said we were told our petition is much ado about we said we were told our petition is much like I said we've really been battered. But we shall soldier on. Like I said, we've really been battered. Use Martin Luther King's words because I suppose Martin Luther King's words because I suppose I went to a school where they didn't teach us Shakespeare. They taught us things fall apart. I went to a school where they didn't teach us Shakespeare. They taught us things fall apart. They went to the posh schools. And all they went to the Martin Luther King said in 1968. Martin Luther King given at the National Cathedral in 1968. We shall overcome. The speech given at the National Cathedral. The moral universe is long. Because the arc of the moral universe is long. Request, but can we have justice? For that's all of us, request. For the voters, can we have because justice? The two parties just think about themselves. For the voters, us, because the two parties just think about themselves. And I donate my 4 minutes back to the court. Thank you. And I donate my 4 minutes back to the court.
We will have the third petitioner here. Thank you. We will have the third petitioner here, Advocacy Africa, and Peter Kirika.
Madam Chief Justice and Madam Deputy Chief Justice, Madam Chief Justice, the members and Madam Deputy Chief Justice. Yesterday, and for a section of this morning. Yesterday, Your Ladyship, I believe we've been allocated 30 minutes. I see the clock says 15. I believe we've been allocated 30 minutes. I see the clock says 15. The directions clearly said 30 for us. The directions clearly said 30 advocacy for us.
I don't know whether there was any question directed to you.
Yes, there were.
I don't know whether there was any question directed to you.
Yes, there were.
No, the direction.
But the direction says for youth.
Yes, for youth advocacy is that.
Yes, for youth. The clock said 15.
Yes, for youth advocacy is that.
But for yesterday, for most of yesterday and this morning, members of the court. For yesterday, for most of yesterday and this morning, yes, members of the court. Yes, Your Lordship, my name is Thomas Sharia. Yes, I appear together with my colleagues on record. My name is Thomas Sharia. Advocacy Africa. I appear together with my colleagues on record. For youth, most of yesterday and this morning, you were treated to most of yesterday and this morning of an election. You were treated as to the theory to be conducted of an election. My colleague Julie Soweto to be conducted. Has demonstrated to you my colleague what every Kenyan knows. Has demonstrated to you what every Kenyan knows. I call your attention to the affidavit yesterday presented by my good and learned friend to the affidavit Professor Kindiki, yesterday presented by my good and learned friend. It's the affidavit Professor Kindiki, Veronica which has been projected. Duarte. It's the affidavit of that Veronica she is the Secretary General Duarte. Of United Democratic Alliance. She that she is the Secretary General of United Democratic Alliance and 10 respondents. Was the Deputy Chief Agent for the 9th. I call your attention to paragraph 7. In particular, I call your attention to paragraph 7, where she states that the verification process went through paragraph 7. She says the second tire was at the constituency level. 7, where she says the second tire was at the constituency level. She then goes to subparagraph C, and that is the one she then goes interest to here. Subparagraph C, and this is what she says. And that is the one of interest here. Any errors, and this is at the constituency level. In case of any errors, this is at the constituency level, would be corrected. On Form 34B, that is the key. Those are the key words. Would be corrected. She then goes on at paragraph 8, those are the key words. That the third tire goes on at paragraph was at the National Talent Center at Bomas of Kenya. That the third tire where the following was at the National Talent Center at Bomas of Kenya, where the following activities took place. 8F. We go the verification team would also verify that each of the uploaded Form 34A in the verification team would also verify that of the original 34A presented by the constituency returning officer and in original 34A presented by the constituency returning officer, the errors were noted. And in instances of discrepancies, the errors were noted. Also verify she then says that the data entered in the IBC the team would also verify for that the data entered in the IBC original forms system was correct. For purpose of tallying from all original IBC online system is incorrect. In case the data entered in the IBC online system is incorrect, the same was then goes at J on the online system. For a verified Form 34B at J would thereafter be generated from 34B. Another one would thereafter be generated. Another one now is generated at Bomas, corrected at constituency. Another one now is generated at Bomas. I specify this particular provision because members of the Honorable Court specify this particular provisions this is precisely members of the Honorable Court, chairman of IBC this is precisely in the minor KI case, chairman of IBC was told in the minor KI reading he could not do. As has been repeated here severally, and perhaps I should repeat it too many times, as has been repeated here severally, and perhaps I should repeat it too many times, he understood minor he is qualified to be a Supreme Court judge, and so we know what he did not understand about the following passage. It is important that we understand what he did not understand. It is evident, I'm reading from minor passage. It is evident to us from the above sequence of events that the role of the chairperson from the above sequence of events that the role of the chairperson of the appellant at the polling stations where votes are counted, tallied, verified, and declared. At the polling stations where votes are counted, tallied, verified, and declared. To its chairperson, that's the commission. Upon receipt of prescribed forms containing tabulated results for election of president, prescribed forms transmitted tabulated results for election of president, electronically transmitted to it and verify the results at the National Tallying Center. Is required to tally and verify the results at the National Tallying Center interfering with the figures and details of the outcome of the vote as interfering with the figures and details of the outcome of the vote as received. Minor KI from the county tallying the chairperson on the other hand as appointed is appointed and that's called the chairperson on the other hand the chairperson is appointed and that's called to 50 of the Constitution and is not the chairperson cannot goes on to say and is not, and I say this because my good friend George Morogo and I say this told you because my good friend George Morogo this morning is the commission told you or the chairman that whether the chairman is the commission it is not a matter of context is a matter of context that debate it is not a matter of context and minor KI put and finally to rest to suggest that there is some law that empowers the chairperson of the appellant to suggest that there is an individual that empowers the chairperson of the appellant then that's the word as an individual vary to alone confirm then that's the word correct modify or adjust the results electronically transmitted modify to the National Tallying Center for the results electronically transmitted to the National Tallying Center for the constituency tallying centers such a suggestion would introduce opaqueness. This such a suggestion by the four commissioners opaqueness disagreed. This was going on by the four commissioners opaqueness and arbitrariness going on at Bomas to the electoral process. Opaqueness and arbitrariness the Constitution process seeks the very mischief. I don't know how much Constitution seeks to remedy that. What the Commissioner, what the Chairman of the Commission did, that was the very what the Chairman of the Commission did required him to do. Now, Maina Kiai was itself based on several decisions of this court. Now, Maina Kiai the first of those being based on several decisions which is a 2014 case. The first of those being Wanjohi. When the court said, apart from the priority this court said there, apart from the priority attaching to the political and constitutional scheme for the election of representatives, the political and constitutional schemes for the election of representatives, the weight of the people's governance agencies is far too substantial. The weight of the people's franchise permit one official is far too substantial, or a couple of them, including a returning official, unilaterally to undo the voters' verdict without having the matter resolved, unilaterally to undo the voters' verdict without having the matter resolved. According to law, only by the judicial constitutional framework, permitted to correct at any level, constitutional framework, of the three levels, to correct at any level, chairman, let alone any of the three levels, is this court. The commissioner, it is manifest to this court that an error regarding the elector's final choice. It is manifest to this court that an error regarding the elector's final choice, even indeed there is one, can only raises vital issues of justice, such as can only, we reiterate as we conclude that there is no doubt from the architecture of the laws we have considered that there is no doubt the people of Kenya did from the architecture of the laws we have considered or that the people of Kenya did not intend and boundless powers or concentrate such sweeping and boundless powers in one individual. Now, as we stated, the chairman is now, as we stated, the chairman qualified to be a Supreme Court judge. It is extremely unlikely he did not to be a Supreme Court judge. What Maina Kiai had told him. Extremely unlikely, and the only reason not understand he would then have proceeded in the manner that Veronica Duarte have proceeded tells us in the manner that Veronica Duarte, another Kenyan phrase, is that to use another Kenyan phrase is the only reason Mtadu one can find about it. For what that is the only reason one can find. The commission came and told you that yesterday the commission came and told thousands of times that the system officers at the thousands of times. And so clearly by you officers, returning officers, and so clearly specific special returning officers assigned to changing forms, special returning officers, as has been demonstrated to changing this morning on the portal. In our submission, demonstrated the alterations made to this system, in our submission, forms, these so-called alterations made to this system, that were done to the forms, at these so-called corrections, so alterated and contaminated the outcome of the election, alterated that it is now incurably defective of the election, and incapable it is now of being incurably defective and incapable of being rescued. Now, we were challenged to demonstrate. We were from their own forms challenged to demonstrate the problem was from their own forms. Now time doesn't permit me to take it directly to those affidavits. Now time doesn't permit me. But the commission has filed an affidavit through the firm of December Kamau and Maema. But the commission has filed an affidavit through the firm of December Kamau and Maema, Wanjiko Wanjohi. The affidavit of Esther Wanjiko Wanjohi. That's about she attaches 14% forms of the forms that asked to be taken through the 40% of the forms of those 14 forms to be taken through the scrutiny, representing 57% of the forms. 8 representing 57% of the forms. 8 have problems, including the fact that when you read them with a QR problems, including the serial number that shows when you read them with a QR code. The serial number that correction problems is for a different talent problems on those forms. The problems submitted by the commissioners themselves, by the commission on those forms, submitted by the commissioners affidavit themselves, submitted again by the commission. You have an affidavit submitted again by the commission. The affidavit of Nzika, same problems. He has 2 forms. Same problems. 50% of them, 2 forms. One form has an incorrect 50% of them, which is one form, where the rejected votes an incorrect have been added as part of the total. Where the rejected votes have been added. Now, in light of what Maina Kiai said, and what my learned seniors have said here this morning. Now, in light of what Maina Kiai said, and what my learned seniors have said here this morning, is taken back to a few months ago. My mind, when a few of my colleagues is here, taken back to a few months ago, came before this court. When a few of my colleagues here, my good friends here, and came before this court. That a process known as BBI and persuaded you, one where a million signatures known as BBI one which had gone 1 million signatures through over 40 county assemblies, one which had gone through over 40 county assemblies, was one which had gone void through both houses of parliament, because the president was irredeemably the void and process, because the president used the wrong process. And I invite you to look at paragraphs 1544, to look at paragraphs 1544 and 1535 your judgment in the BBI case, 1500, where you stated your judgment that in the BBI case process, where you stated undertaken that without constitutional authority, and as the chairman of the IEBC constitutional authority in this particular case, as the chairman of the IEBC declared in this particular case void, must and the terms null and void, and this is one of the cases we've stated before you, and the terms null and void, and this is one of the cases we've stated before you, United Africa Company of McFoy is captured in the following words: if an act is void, then it is in law captured in the following words: if an act can only, it is not only bad, but incurably bad. It can only, it is not only bad, but incurably bad. It is automatically null for an order of the court to set it aside. It is automatically null and void without more ado. Though it is sometimes convenient to have which is founded on it is also bad and every proceeding bad which is founded on it is something bad on nothing and incurably and expect it to stay there. You cannot put something on nothing that is the fate to stay there. The Form 36 collapse. The Form 34 is the fate issued by the chairman of the commission. The Form 34 in this matter issued by the chairman of the commission in this matter now must suffer as well. My learned friend Mr. Mahat has taken you through some numbers. My learned friend Mr. Mahat and as demonstrated, and as was demonstrated earlier here by my colleagues for the first petition, and as was demonstrated earlier here by my colleagues where the numbers are so adulterated, when you have a process where the numbers are so adulterated, what numbers are we talking about? So compromised numbers that have been verified or quote unquote tallied, numbers in an unconstitutional verified or quote unquote tallied in an unconstitutional matter. I think it was Tinia Molo Senior Council. I think Mr. Orengo, I think it was became a moving target. Now, in fact, the numbers not more like a moving target, but like now, in fact, they were behaving not more like a moving target in a nursery school, but running around there. A group of naughty children to get a hold of the number running around there. It was used either for the 50+1 to get a hold of the number, tallying, or for the verification, for the 50 which as you have had, or for the tallying, or for the verification, which as you have had, now was changed 3 times. You asked, I think, of the petitioners, how did we get to this place? Of the petitioners, how did we get to this place? Train crash, a train crash in slow motion. Slow. Those of us who lived through the impressive days that led to the Constitution of 2010, who lived through the impressive days that led to the Constitution of 2010, my good friend Mr. Moro has told you that it did not happen one day. My good friend Mr. Moro has told you by which the chairman appointed himself Gazette notice the presidential by which the chairman appointed himself. And we need to note because the defense put here yesterday by the commission, and we need to note was that because the defense put here yesterday by the on the basis of your judgment in 2017, he appointed himself on the basis of your judgment in 2017 returning officer. Where in passing, now this year you said he has a national returning officer. He upgraded himself to now this presidential. He has upgraded officer. He upgraded himself. Now you've been told that Gazette notice means returning nothing officer. And I think yesterday now you've been told that Gazette notice we ought to be grateful to him. And I think yesterday you were told we ought to be grateful to him because he had published the good grace in the Gazette his unconstitutional appointment. Published now in the Gazette whether you his unconstitutional appointment misconduct now, in the Kenya Gazette you publish or you publish an offense misconduct does not in the Kenya Gazette or some sort of value an offense or some sort does not imbue that process with some sort of value or quality, does not imbue that the Constitution does not permit that office or quality, or does not permit the Constitution does not permit the way office to exist. A Gazette notice does not improve conduct himself in the way it did. A Gazette notice does not. If it meant nothing, why publish it in the first place? If it meant nothing, why publish it at all? Why publish it in the first place? Nothing. But the point I wish to make is this: why publish it at all? If it meant nothing. But the point I wish to make is this: I think I've seen letters written by the party that I think I've seen letters written by the first petitioner party that the one nominated articles complaining, the first petitioner notices, the one newspaper articles complaining, Gazette that ballots had come without commissioners, newspaper notices complaining that a bit more that ballots had come without commissioners complaints made by civil society. But as happened in Kenya, made by civil society, in the position we ended up before the 2010 Kenya, when we ended up in the position we ended up before the 2010 pushing these things away to the back of our mind. And people go to campaign, pushing these things away. The rest of us go on with our lives, and people go to publishes a new gazette. The rest of us go on with our lives, and he publishes on a gazette, and now the presidential returning allocates duties. You go look after flowers, you go be at Asha. These are allocates duties. You go look after flowers, you go be at Asha. We end up with what was this morning called an imperial. We end up with what was this morning called commission. And so this is how we ended up, chairman at this unhappy day, commission. And so this is how we ended up that this unhappy day stand by these reasons, commissioners, because we were not involved in everything that was done with them. We were not involved. But apart from that, and apart from those obvious with them, misdemeanors and indiscretions that have been pointed out here, misdemeanors and indiscretions that have been pointed out here, in our petition, we raised the fact that even other statutory requirements, the KPMG audit report, for example, even other statutory requirements, the KPMG audit report, for example, 4 days to the election, published on the 5th of August. And parties kept asking for this report. Why is the report? And parties kept asking in that most Kenyan fashion, and we will be told again in that most Kenyan fashion, go do your things, and you wait. And on the so you go back and campaign before the elections, and you wait. And on the it is dumped on the website before the election. And no one is actually told. There was no press release saying it is dumped on the website now. And no one is actually told. There was no press release saying we've released KPMG now. Go and look at that report, and you'll see a copy of it. Now, when you finally go and look at that report, and you'll see a copy of it in the particular pages I refer you to, and 1,153 and 1,155 of that KPMG complains that both the commission that KPMG complains withheld that critical information as regards how the voters register was being accessed, and as regards how the voters register was written and released, and that by the time the report was written and released, that was the KPMG, they had not received that information. That's what the KPMG again. The commission comes here this morning now and tries to explain to you. The commission comes here this morning at the question and tries to explain to you voters how they arrived at the question register of voters. One of the things you will not find in the affidavits. One of the things you will not find in the an account affidavits of how many Form 32As is an account signed as required by law. How many Form 32As, and that is the only mechanism was signed as the regulations identified. And that is the only mechanism those who have the regulations identified. The KIMS identifying the system itself. Voted and outside so what they've the done, and that's the system itself. What I think one of the honorable judges yesterday called a bit of a lecture here yesterday. One of the honorable judges yesterday called a bit of a lecture here yesterday. You begin by adding up all the votes you say were in the Form 34C. You begin by adding up all the votes you say were in the Form 34C. Those who identified and then you using the KIMS kit. You have not been given those who identified using the KIMS kit. You have not been given a report of how many. In addition to that, is the tortured question. In addition to Regulation 69 is the sub-regulation 1A of and Regulation 69 said about sub-regulation 1A. Now, Regulation 69 said about that here of the Election General Regulations 1 requires that of the Election General Regulations a voter is identified using the KIMS every time the printed register is identified using the KIMS. And this is not a function of voter identification. This is not a function of voter identification. This is a distinction must be made between to ensure that before the Court of Appeal. A distinction must be made between what was before the Court of Appeal in the case raised before you about the printed register crossing out. And for some reason requires the Commission regards the crossing out. Opposed. For some reason the Commission strenuously opposed. Now you've been told that there were approximately 92,000 that there were approximately 92,000. Now the mathematics that the Commission chair. Now the mathematics to arrive that to the Commission chair uses to arrive to that for starters is not an accountable figure. What they've done, for starters, and you'll find that I think is not an accountable figure. 73. What they've done, and you'll find that I think 75 and 76, 73 of the chairman's replying affidavit in our petition, 76 of the chairman's replying affidavit in our constituencies. This is Makadara. Is taken and Kibra constituencies. This is Makadara. In those and Kibra constituencies, and said we had an average of 2 stray ballots. We had an average. They take an average. 2 stray ballots. And the reason for this per polling station is that it is not possible. And the reason for this account for stray ballots it is not possible within the time that this court to account for stray ballots because under regulation 81 that this court must rule. Once because under regulation 81 have been identified, they are put in an envelope. Ballots and another form 37 they are put in an envelope. And another form 37 anywhere B to indicate stray ballots. Or 39B they are indicated to indicate stray ballots station diary. They are indicated the only way in a polling of arriving at a precise number. The only way stray ballots of arriving at a precise number of stray to whom they strayed, if I may use that word, identifying is to audit to whom they strayed, if I may use that word, diaries is for the 46,000 polling stations in this country, and that hasn't been done. And so we can't speak with any certainty here in this country. When a figure is thrown at this court, and so we can't speak with any certainty here. When a figure is thrown at this court, stray ballots, no one knows. The truth is that no one knows. 92,000 stray ballots. The second thing is that in arriving at this mathematics, the second thing, the chair of the commission arriving at this mathematics, the chair of the commission in 6 polling stations in Starehe and Mathare, in 6 polling stations in Starehe and Mathare forms in the ballot box. The officer and then says that in the 6 in the ballot box we cannot account now for 4,200. We cannot account now 4,200 divided by 7 by 6 is 700. 4,200 what he's divided by 7 is that in those 6 is 700. What he's saying is that in those 6 polling stations you will see that at paragraph 74, 75, 76 turnout. You will see that at now when you go to the forms 75, 76 on the portal as you've been asked to do, now when you go to the forms 100%. On the portal as you've been asked to do, the turnout is not 100%. Affidavit. And so that is a false I think much has been said about the forms and the PDFs. I think I won't I think much has been said about the forms and the PDFs. I think I should also state because it was part of our petition about that by the time I think I should also state because it was part of our petition that by the time we went to the election and required by the election audit technology regulations required by the elections technology regulations on their website it's not been provided or done. Elections, not on their website, technology regulations under the elections require technology annual regulations under the Elections Act and require and you will find in a response by the chairman and 11 you will find in a response by the chairman to the a letter where he says we could not do the audit because we did not have money. A letter where he says we could not do the audit because in response to a petition. A certificate has now a certificate in response where they say petition, we have a certificate, a 2-page certificate, but it doesn't attach where they say we have not on the website and we have not been provided those 10 reports as of today. They are not on the website and we have not been provided with them. Is that it might become impossible or unnecessary for us to spend time here. It might become discussing things called logs. For us to spend time here, my grandmother knows, discussing things called logs. And the only logs my grandmother knows are those uses to warm herself. And I think we've submitted before you a case, she's a voter, from the German Constitutional Court. And I think we've submitted before you a case which states that the German Constitutional Court is able to independent of an expert. The audit the process is able to conduct an election of an expert. Then that election is not to conduct an election. Then that election is before you with verifiable. Our digest of authority is before you with our digest, it speaks to something a bit more of authority, nefarious, if I may use that word. It speaks to something a bit more. We have just been told here today that we had foreigners, if I may use that word, who have accessed. We have just been told here today that we had foreigners. I can't pronounce their names. Our IT systems. My county of can't pronounce their names on account of now. And what has happened is that now, and the submission has happened is that the IEBC and the submission of control of the process the IEBC of determining the sovereign will of the people of Kenya, of determining the sovereign will of the people that now says to a foreign entity that data is the intellectual property and cannot be shared with Kenyans. Is the intellectual property and they are very, very serious questions that arise. And I say this because and there are very, very serious questions that arise. And I say this because, for example, this data they were asked of the chairman of the commission has it complied with the Data Protection Act. Has it complied with the Data Protection Act to the provisions of Section 31 subjected of the Data Protection Act of Section 31? And what are the consequences of the Data Protection Act? Our data. And what are the consequences of surrendering our data, our biometric data,
is now their intellectual
to foreigners
property.
who now tell us
that is now
and I
their
think Kenyans would be
property.
Forgiven for saying,
and I think Kenyans
that
would
we're
be
going soon to have leaders
for saying
made in Venezuela.
that we're going soon to have
not in Kenya,
leaders
not by Kenyans.
Made in
Allow
Venezuela.
me to use the few minutes left
Kenya,
to address some of the questions.
Allow me to
I
use
think you
the
raised
few minutes left to address some of the questions remedies. But before that, let me just point out as regards that amongst the other failures by this commission, just point out was to provide amongst the other failures by this commission with amended regulations, which the Parliament of Kenya, with amended regulations in June or July, but presented amended regulations in June or July. As Parliament was, they'll come and tell you the law was not amended for us to rectify some of these things. They'll come and tell you the law was not amended for us to rectify some of these things. The election operations proposals late again and outside the election operations plan that they had said printing of ballot papers. A specific question was asked of them. Printing of ballot papers. This company that you have procured, question was asked rightfully or wrongly, is accused. This company that having led to the postponement rightfully or wrongly is accused. And the chairman again said the postponement of an election in Nigeria. And the chairman again said, we have the largest postponement of elections in the history. We have the largest postponement of elections on 8th in the history was the largest. The elections postponed on 8th in the history was the largest number of postponements in the history of Kenya. Kenyans, what should we do? Who run into problems? Kenyans find complicated issues. Who they don't know run into problems and who find I always want to say do something. They don't know what to do. Can somebody do something? I always want to say do something. That is what can somebody do something? But this honorable court somebody has the power to do something. That is what we say. And it has this honorable court has the power to do even in the face of an imperial commissioner, and it has power to do chairman of the commission. Even in the face of an imperial commissioner, says chairman of the commission. Who quite casually says you have power under Article 140, and again, in my view, you have. I think the question was asked here about and again, in my view, I think the question was asked here about the utility of. Now, I think given the time limitations that this court has, the Elections Act, to do a recount and a return. Now, I think given the time limitations that this section is one that is not very helpful or useful. That section is one that is not of the Constitution under Article 140, sub-Article 3. The requirement is for a nullification under Article 1 election that is found 3, not is for a nullification with the Constitution. An election that is found not number two, I think the judges asked of us. That is number one. What is to happen? Number two, if we are to then the judges asked of us find that this. What is to happen if we are to then the Constitution find that this chair? Again, that is a question that has risen or committed before. I think in 2017. Again, that is a question that has risen. We have an election offences here before. I think in 2017. We have an election which make provision for what is to happen. 251 errant, which make provision for what is to happen. Officers, public officers, errant, such as the one and Imperium, whose cases before officers, public officers today. And so I think it would be premature to start anticipating what today. And so I think what to happen because it would be premature to start. Our constitution has sufficient. And I think we must trust because our constitution has sufficient mechanisms. And I think we must trust it has created our constitution and the mechanisms in other articles. It has created and Article 140 in other articles for what Madam Chief Justice in that eventuality. I want to thank you Madam for the privilege Justice, your attention, Chief Justice. And unless there are any questions, I want to thank you for the privilege. I will donate my 1 minute. Unless there are any questions left for me, thank you very much. I will donate my 1 minute back to the court. Thank you very much.
Thank you. 15 minutes given to the fourth petitioner. 15 minutes given to the fourth petitioner.
My Lady Chief Justice and the court, may I plead with the court once again? My Lady Chief Justice and the court, we are listening with the court once again is not that what we are listening to. It is a rehash. It's not of the case afresh. It is a rehash. It is leaving us in a very vulnerable position, and it is leaving us in a very vulnerable position. And we have had new or may not have been unless you assure us, my lady, that we will have an opportunity unless you assure us, my lady, that we will have an opportunity to reply.
I think we have already cautioned counsel to reply on points of law. And you can see all of us are reply on points of law. We know what our points of law. And you can see all of us are busy in a reply. We know what our points of law in a reply. and we know what we ignore.
This is only 2 seconds. You said that earlier. This is only 2 seconds. We had. You said that despite that, Mr. Machari has taken 30 minutes. Despite that, Mr. Machari has taken 30 minutes to argue things on a point of law that he responded to. In my submission, on a point of law, the court will be perfectly entitled to disregard every word. The court will be perfectly entitled to disregard every word he uttered.
Yes, we know how to separate the chaff from the wheat. We know how to separate submissions. The chaff from the wheat.
My lady, before I start my submissions, but my time doesn't run.
Yes.
My lady, before I start my submissions, but my time doesn't run. I find myself in a position where I'm one of the most mistreated petitioners in this proceedings. By position that I'm one of the most mistreated petitioners in this proceedings, indicated already by the conference respondents. And we lost the opportunity indicated already to respond. And this court did indicate opportunity that when we'll be doing our response, we can comment on some of those issues. That when we'll be doing our response, we can comment on some of those issues. Because we were the ones who never filed and rejoined to them outside because we were the ones who were served late. So, but I don't intend to go deep provided by the court. Facts. So, but I don't intend to go deep in references. Just to meet what I've been allowed. But I may make one sentence references. Number one, just to meet what my lords and my ladies, if that is in order. Number one, we must assert that the KPMG report, the only expert report that has been done on the biometric voter register, expert report that has been done evidence on the has not been challenged by any other. That evidence has not been challenged by any other evidence which you annexed and refer evidence. We can now safely conclude that the 481,711 we can now safely conclude that the 481,711 the duplicate 81,711 are in that report. The second point that I wish to respond is a question my learned senior. The second point that I wish to respond relates to the question my learned senior Professor Gideon Muigai said with the law. That if this election was badly conducted, the other 5 not in accordance with the elections where we have governors as leaders. One answer, 5 jurisdiction elections where we have every court will have its day. One answer, every court jurisdiction will consider the facts. Every court will have its day. The third point that I wish to consider the facts of those cases relates. The third point that I wish to respond to what was asked of when the regulations to what was gave the chairman the power. When the regulations that gave the chairman the power. Simple answer. Minor Kia case had already answered that question. Minor Kia case had already answered that question. Interpreted Article 138(3)(c) of the Constitution. Article 138(3)(c) and any regulation being made to circumvent that law by itself is unconstitutional. As I said, HELEV was a petitioner in Minor Kia case. HELEV came to court. HELEV has come back to court to enjoy the fruits of its litigation. HELEV has come back to court and I was his proud lawyer in that particular case as well. In Minor Kia case, and I was his proud lawyer in that particular case as well. You've been made reference that the IEBC supplied. You've been made reference was made. So the ballot boxes for the first time. IEBC supplied that necessitated the postponement of the elections on the 8th of August. That necessitated the postponement of the elections on the 8th of August. You've just been told how Lycos, wherever they printed ballots, they've always. You've just been told how Lycos, wherever they printed ballots, elections, they've always ended. IEBC should have exercised due diligence to make sure that exercised due diligence images to make sure that even the printing images confirmed to be accurate. An admission that I submit and confirm to be accurate was not an admission and it must pay that penalty. It cannot transfer diligent and the consequences that penalty of their lack of diligence on the people of Kenya, the consequences of their lack of diligence on the people of Kenya through fake elections. And he gave us the Kriegler report. Mr. Gumbo spoke on technology. Kriegler report did not say deploy weak and vulnerable technology. Kriegler report did not say deploy weak and vulnerable technology. Sufficient, Kriegler report required integral technology that protects the will of the voter. Integral technology that did not make the recommendation for Jose Camargo, Diego Maradona midfielder, to sit in the middle and start distributing results. Diego Maradona midfielder to sit in the middle and start distributing results as was demonstrated today in the morning. or does not excuse is not a technology that the KPMG audit report has found and confirmed that the KPMG audit report has found unauthorized users to be vulnerable, has 14 unauthorized users called Embakasi South. Fourth point I want to raise is IEBC has confirmed that we look at the portal is to tally the results. IEBC has confirmed it is not that we look at the portal that is used to tally. It is not is a function of the commission. The commissioners must perform is a function of the commission. The commissioners must perform a tally of those vis-a-vis the secretariat. I refer this court is the commission to the case of Engineer Michael Kamau versus I refer this court to the case of Engineer Michael Kamau versus EACC. The core functions of a commission cannot be performed by the secretariat of a commission cannot be performed by the secretariat. Documents. That was the Court of Appeal decision. It's part of the bundle of documents. You are told, my lords and my ladies, when in relation to the question, you are told, my lords and my ladies, the technology was. When in relation to the question that Justice how integral the technology was. When you take a JPEG that Justice Lenaola did ask, when you take a PDF and I tie it to the response, what Kamago was doing in the PDF, and I tie it to the response, what Kamago was doing in the system. And my learned friend Samane maintaining the system. He is a plumber. Let me say this. He's like a plumber maintaining the system. Fixed your bathroom. Let me say this. That plumber has no business being in your bathroom when you are showering. That plumber has no business being in your bathroom when you are showering. If you find him at that time, you tell him, get behind me in the Bible. As was said, the devil entered Peter. And Jesus told him, the Bible, when the devil entered Peter, a plumber who is in your bathroom when you are showering after fixing your shower, a plumber who is in your bathroom when you are showering after fixing your shower and should be reported. A plumber is a sexual offender and should be reported.
Let's stick to the...
I'm guided. Mr. Somane took you through. Mr. Somane took you through explanations. Trying to explain what is voter turnout. Explanations. The Kim's kit. Trying to explain what is voter turnout. When you leave. The Kim's kit. Are you able to answer the constitutional threshold? The question. Are you able to answer the constitutional threshold? The question. Or sorry, is that system of technology simple? Or sorry, verifiable? Is that system of technology? Why the many explanations? Why the kizungumingi and accurate? It should be many explanations. Why the kizungumingi and verifiable? It should be what simple, we've been shown is not simple and verifiable. Accurate. This court is still left with so many questions. Is not accurate. This court is still left with so many questions as to the true and exact turnout of voters as to the true and exact turnout of voters as at 5 p.m. on the 9th of August. You're told that parties must have their own agents to present things here. My petitioner You're told is not that parties must have their own agents to present not a candidate. Here. My petitioner is not entitled to participate. He's not a candidate in elections, but is a voter to present a petition. To participate. The obligation, legally speaking, to present a petition. The obligation, legally speaking, is on fair and verifiable election. There is no obligation on a voter like Helen Khalifa to hire and recruit agents on a voter like Helen Khalifa to watch how to hire and recruit agents all over the country. If you do so, to watch, then you will forever relegate the participation of the people of Kenya. If you do so, in a free and fair election, you will forever relegate the ability to hire the people and deploy in a free and fair election, the ability to hire and deploy over their 46,000 agents in all the polling stations to watch over their vote and the votes of others. The question was asked. The question was raised by Mr. Ngati. That election officials are tired, they need to go back by Mr. Ngati. Convenience again. That election officials are tired, they need to go back to work. Convenience again. Our constitutional values and provisions should not be sacrificed. Our constitutional values and provisions. If the election officials are tired and cannot do another election, please. If the election officials are tired and cannot do another election, work properly. Give them more Kenyans who are willing to do this work properly. Give them that opportunity. And that ties to the point that was said, that Kenyans cannot be in elections. And that ties to the point that was said must get that Kenyans right. Cannot be in elections. I say this with due respect to this honorable court. Get it right, and that I say this with due respect to this obligation. Court. When it comes to this issue, the Supreme Court has a higher obligation that we get what we call regime legitimacy. To ensure that we get what we call regime legitimacy. Once a presidential election is concluded, in countries like DRC, their Supreme Court, once a presidential election is concluded, to get a validation, Supreme Court, the legitimacy, to get a validation, regime legitimacy. In a fractious society, is highly political like this. Just remove that. In a fractious society, highly political like this. Just remove that. A Supreme Court highly political gives this regime legitimacy to that new regime. A Supreme Court's decision gives regime legitimacy to that new regime. Then, and when questions are raised like we've done, and when you consider the margin by which the Supreme Court, and when you consider the margin by which the purport that legitimacy should not be granted by this court at this point. That legitimacy should not be granted by this court at this point. I want to address a few questions that were asked by the learned judges. Number one, by Justice Ibrahim. I want to address a few questions that were asked by the learned judges. Number one, by Justice Ibrahim. Is there a lacuna in the law? In God's grace, if we nullify and if we indict in God's grace these elections. The answer is very simple. And Article 142 of the Constitution, the president who is in office shall continue in office of the Constitution. A new one is sworn in. There is no lacuna in the law until a new one is sworn in. There is no lacuna. The second point. Mr. Chebukati is not immortal. The second point, he could even resign from his office. Mr. Chebukati is not immortal. This country can collapse resign from if Mr. Chebukati resigns from his office today? Does it mean that this country can collapse if Mr. Chebukati resigns from his office today? No. We'll still have within our governance, we have a working parliament, we have a national executive within our governance, we have a working parliament, we have a national executive, we have a judiciary addressed all these existing parameters. Issues. And when I say the president will continue in office, those existing of course within. And when I say the president will continue in office, mandate. Of course within, but the systems and the functions of government will continue. But the systems and the functions of government will continue. Of Kenya. The right thing is to make sure that the people's voices are actually heard. The right thing is to make sure that the people's voices are actually heard in a true, transparent election. My learned Chief Justice asked the question, why the Chief Justice asked the question, why it took too long, why the Commission did not announce the results there was actually from morning. Peace and Bomas. That we had a choir singing the whole night and the whole day. Bomas. We had a choir singing the whole night and the whole day. What stopped them from announcing at night? As was being presented at 3 p.m. What stopped them from announcing those in the morning? The choir is my witness. What stopped them from announcing those in the morning? The choir is my witness. They were singing, there was peace, and everybody saw that. The other question that was asked by learned Justice. The other question that was asked by learned Justice about a dysfunctional commission. I wish to say this. Deputy Chief Justice about a dysfunctional commission has always been there. The dysfunctionality of the commission has always been to us by what I call it has been brought to us a celebrated group in this constitution. In 2007, a celebrated group in this constitution. Kipkirui, an individual clerk, came out and told us what is happening at KCC is Kipkirui, an individual clerk, came out and told us what is happening at KCC came out and said. What is happening at IBC is not being done in compliance with the orders of this court. And she ran away. What is happening at IBC is not being done in compliance with the orders of this court. And she ran away. You now have the commission itself by a majority of its members. You now have the commission itself by a majority of its members. What is being announced are not the product of the commission. What is being announced are not the product of the commission. Should a commission that has made an admission be vilified of a failure of Tier 3 should a commission that has made an admission that of a failure of Tier 3 should actually now prove to you that indeed the Constitution actually is working. Prove to you that indeed the Constitution is working. On the question that I wish the court to consider, what would have happened if we didn't have this court? In 2007, what would have happened if we didn't have this court? In 2007, who had been said to have lost the elections didn't want to go to court. And those who had been said to have lost the elections didn't want to go to court. They were asked to go to court. Because the hearing of the petition will have taken forever. Even 5 years, the entire time. The hearing of the petition will have taken forever. This court should not leave Kenyans in a way. This court should not leave Kenyans in a way have an avenue through which that they start questioning themselves. Do we still have an avenue through which that is a core function we can solve of this court. These political questions? That if the court fails to stand up to occasion, the ramifications on the people of Kenya will be dire. To stand up because people end up the ramifications on the people of Kenya will be dire. because people end up losing trust. So on the side of convenience, that to tell the people of Kenya on the side of convenience, we can see some of these problems. To tell the people of Kenya, convenience requires that Chebukati cannot conduct an election within 60 days. Convenience requires that Chebukati cannot conduct an election within 60 days. Let us not confidence upset the elections in this particular court, which public will be catastrophic as we witnessed in this particular year, which 2000 will be catastrophic as we witnessed in the year 2007. Tied to the commissioners, there are affidavits that I believe the commissioners talk about them. In their reply, the majority commissioners that I believe the commissioners talk about them. In their reply, we must point out majority commissioners that these commissioners have been already. We must point out number one that these commissioners have been in office for less than 1 year. September, March, that 1 year, they've filed three memos. They've written within that 1 year, they've filed the conduct of the chair unilaterally making decisions. On the conduct of the chair unilaterally making decisions. Ultimately coming out on the 15th to tell Kenyans what they had been dealing with internally. On the 15th, unilateral to tell Kenyans what they had been dealing with internally. Over unilateral chairman. Arbitrary. And I say this as I conclude. All-knowing chairman, ladies. And I say this as I conclude, alligator comes out of the water and tells you that the crocodile is sick. When an alligator comes out of the water and tells you that the crocodile is sick. When the commissioners come out and tell you that our processes when the commissioners come out and tell you processes that are not as per the Constitution are opaque. Do you doubt them? Our processes are not as per the Constitution. Don't doubt them. Do you doubt them? Pray, my lords and my ladies, that allow the petition as prayed and grant the pray, my lords and my ladies, and don't shy away as prayed. If and grant find it necessary, and don't shy away, Mr. Wafula Chebukati, find it necessary for the transgressions to indict singular manner Mr. Wafula Chebukati for the transgressions to the singular manner in which he has Thank you very much, my lady. I yield today to the 13 minutes of my time back to court. Thank you very much, my lady. I yield today 13 minutes of my time back to court. That is
Council, thank you. Council, representing the fifth petitioner. 15 minutes. David Kariuki-Ngare. 15 minutes.
Your Lordship, the Chief Justice, Deputy Chief Justice, members of the court, the Chief Justice, may it please you that my name is Mamboleo, members of the court, I represent, may it please you that my name is Mamboleo, in the consolidated petition, I represent, we'll be making this rejoinder together in the consolidated my learned friend, Mr. Morara Umoke. We'll be making this rejoinder together, Your Lordship, with my learned friend, Mr. Morara Umoke. When we filed this petition, Your Lordship, when we filed this petition, the response we got from the respondents, the response was that we got from petition, the respondents was that this the other response was frivolous. Yeah. The other response, my ladies, my lords, yeah. The other response, the tallying, verification, and declaration of results at the National Tallying Center, verification and declaration of results at the National Tallying Center of the Commission. Is a pre-serve of the chairperson that the rest of the members of the Commission have absolutely no role. The rest of the members of the Commission, I can quote, have absolutely no role. My senior colleague, Mr. Kamau I can quote as my senior colleague, Mr. Kamau Karori, that as the other members of the Commission, insisting don't have a role. The other members of the Commission, the chairperson of the Commission has been extremely magnanimous. In fact, because at various points of the Commission in this process, extremely magnanimous, is even involved. Because at various points in this process, the third is even response we got somewhat is that the election of the President of the Republic of Kenya is that it's just about the election of the President of the Republic of Kenya. Numbers. It's just about numbers. And then lastly, numbers. The respondents wanted to put this court in the respondents wanted to put this court in by suggesting a dilemma. That should they exercise some powers under Article 140 of the Constitution, should they exercise some powers under Article 140 of the Constitution, to get in, and probably nullify the election that is uncharted. We are going to get into a situation, create fear that is uncharted constitutionally. Your Lordships, your ladies, create fear. I want to suggest to this court, your Lordships, your ladies, when you retire, I want to look at what we call the theory of when you retire, to look at what we call the theory of false dichotomy. Is an informal fallacy. The theory of false dichotomy that is based on a premise, an informal fallacy that erroneously limits, based on a premise, the options that are available. That erroneously limits. And what the respondents are telling you, the options that are available, is that the Constitution does not provide mechanisms to deal with the situation that might arise mechanisms for something that is expressly to deal with the situation that might arise Article 140 for something that is expressly provided for under Article 140. I also want to suggest to you, my ladies, my lordships, when you retire, I also want to suggest to you, my ladies, my lordships, when you retire, about 3 years ago, to look at what came into the open about the CIA rule book, which on is called of organizations. The CIA rule book. How do you disrupt organizations so that you do not have an organization? How do you disrupt organizations as it should? So that you do not have an organization. And when you have achieved that, as it should, then you come out and use the law. And when you have achieved that, then you come out and use the law on Bomas on the 15th of this month. On August 2022. It is now judicially noticed of August 2022 that the beaming it is now judicially noticed stopped. That the beaming it is now in public notice that commissioners it is now in the commission notice at least for them that came out and stated that they do not have anything to do with the result that was being announced. Came out and stated that they do not have anything to do with the result that was being announced. That as this was happening, it is actually top in the mind of the chairperson of the commission. He knew in the mind of the chairperson of the commission the process of tallying. He knew verification and results to be his process of tallying, verification and results to be his own precept. He says that is how he understood it. He's not even. He said refuted it. Other commissioners says that is how he understood it. He said that the what other commissioners are not want to suggest to you, your lordships, your ladships. So what is a very simple thing. Do we want to suggest to you, your lordships, your ladships? The reason why Kenyans were so glued. That the reason why Kenyans were for almost 6 days to the television set the election of president is the only one thing is because Kenyans the election of president is the only one thing that Kenyans do as a collective to them once in a while that you simply cannot joke about it to them. The reason your lordship simply every Kenyan was glued to media stations. The reason your lordship and every Kenyan was glued to know media stations what happened to your vote. For 6 days is because you wanted to know what happened to Article 138(3)(c). So as read Article 138 with Article 38 of the Constitution, as read together, is in my view Article 38 an expression of the greatest is in my view or the greatest gift that this Constitution has given or the greatest benefit that this Constitution promised has given in Article 1 of the Constitution that is that the people are sovereign in Article 1 of the Constitution. But if somehow you manage to cut the people are sovereign, the sovereignty of the people. But if somehow you manage to cut by some scheme or something of the people, then we are in and set it aside by some and without taking too much time because I associate myself with the and without taking too much time submissions made by myself with the senior councils here. Submissions made by important thing that we want to suggest to you, your lordships, is that when you retire, we want to suggest to you, your lordships, you kindly borrow something that when you retire. I know you already know. Could you kindly borrow something that you that Article 138(3)(c) of the Constitution? That Article 138(3)(c) of the Constitution, Kenyans have been given with respect to the presidential Kenyans have been given with respect to the presidential vote in a presidential election. Then I'm sure you will come to the conclusion. And if you do so, that Article 138(3)(c) come to the conclusion is a peremptory norm of the Constitution. It is a used Cogen's norm of the Constitution from which no person is allowed to derogate. From which no person is allowed to derogate. Not the President of the Republic of Kenya, IEBC, and by no means, not the President of the Republic of Kenya, and by no means, this court must enforce of the Republic of Kenya. The fact that this court must enforce with respect the fact that this is the highest rule norm and with respect extension to the protection of the sovereignty of the people of Kenya. Extension, I will yield my the sovereignty of the people of Kenya. I will yield my remaining minutes to my colleague Murara Moke. Thank you.
Ukiniangalia mimi ni mtu wa kununua second hand.
You look second hand yourself right now.
Mimi nakaondia.
Niangalie hivi, nakaondia. Second hand you're not with those now. Mimi nakaondia. Niangalie hivi, nakaondia. Not with those.
Huyu hata tujua. Do you know me?
No. But Tosha.
Huyu hata tujua. Do you know me? When the husband about house.
It was saying like couple.
When the husband about house.
Yes. I thank you. Oh my God. Yes. I thank you.
No. Let me talk the truth and accept the devil. Please. No. Let me talk the truth and accept the devil. Please.
Babyface. Ulionaje kazi yangu zangu za uzaji kwaje? Babyface. Ulionaje kazi yangu zangu za uzaji kwaje? Wewe sasa ukishanyehe usiongee vile unaongea. Sasa ukishanyehe usiongee vile unaongea. Mtu akiwa serious akuwe serious.
Life cannot always.
Mtu akiwa serious akuwe serious.
Life cannot always.
The outcome of an election that is conducted by what I could simply call the Tower of Babel, that is conducted by what I could simply call the Tower of Babel, of an independent commission. The IBC, that is something when you have two factions of an independent commission, not just the judges. I was happy when I heard Madam CJ, you said that you are very concerned by that. Not just the judges. I was happy when I heard Madam CJ, you said that you are very concerned by that. As you retire to make a determination, being concerned by that. All of us in this country be as you retire to make a determination, and that we had a commission that has country be concerned by that. That is run by what has been described as an executive chairmanship. That is run by what has been described as an executive chairmanship. What I was hearing today. And this was being said by council, instructed by that chairperson. And this was being said by council, instructed by that chairperson to come and
The second question, Madam Chief Justice and honorable members of the Supreme Court.
My first question,
directed at the first and second respondent by His Honorable Justice Lenaola, was why didn't the chairperson wait until the next day and try to reach consensus
that when it comes to
and address the 27 constituencies?
Tallying and declaration of
it is important
the result
to point out at this juncture
that really, if you look at
that the 27 constituencies had been tallied
Article 138
and had undergone the verification process.
Say emanates from this court. You seem to
and we're ready for announcement.
Arguing that is
by Professor Goulier.
Strictly within the purview.
My lords and my ladies, I refer the Honorable Court to paragraph 35 of the affidavit of Professor Goulier,
let's say
filed in the main petition.
Remaining the 6 commissioners really ought not to be around.
And as to the circumstances why the chairperson opted to declare the results,
but then you said
on the very day
to the statute that
he did
this commission, the enabling statute, the roles and functions.
The explanation is to be found in paragraphs 86 and 111
stated
of his affidavit.
One of them is oversight.
But if I may summarize,
what is oversight? If
he made considerations,
the commissioners, I would have thought that
concerning
one of the most important
security of his staff, who at that particular point in time
would be
was suffering arrests,
the verification,
abductions,
tally,
and injuries to officials, including commissioners.
At the center, before the same is then
declared
in his mind
on behalf and for and but for the people of Kenya.
It was prudent to conclude the exercise.
I ask this because
since Article 138(3)(c) had been fully satisfied.
That instead of perhaps playing this,
and there was a legitimate expectation that the results were to be declared on the 15th of August,
media
as had been announced.
What is oversight? What would they be
on that very morning?
That's the question. In other words, at what point does the chair then disengage?
Welcome back to the program. Now from friends and senators to newly elected governors. What can the residents of Makueni and Nairobi expect with the two gentlemen who are now live in our studios this evening? For the first time on national TV, I'll keep repeating that because it's true. Karibu sana, gentlemen.
Asante.
We've got Sakaja Johnson Arthur, Governor-elect Nairobi, and Mutula Kilonzo Jr., Governor-elect Makueni. And the first question I want to ask is straight off the back. There are people who've been looking for elective seats for 25 years.
About this Venezuelan.
Both of you, Senate,
and one
first
of the
attempt, you get it.
Whether the
Council of Governors, first attempt, you get it as well. What is the secret? Mutula, let me start with you.
I don't think there's a secret to it.
There was no such.
I think we resonate with the people who elect us.
Or infiltration.
The confidence that the people who elected me in 2013 has not changed from 2013 to 2022. And therefore, it only means that in terms of the work that I've been doing, it has been consistent, and therefore they can see the leadership. The vote of confidence that I have received in Makueni since 2013 is a record. In fact, I beat my competitors in every single place that I was voting in Makueni. So mine was not an election, it was just a vote of confidence by the people of
So if I understood you correctly, Venezuela,
youth factor, but we can talk about that later. Sakaja, for you, what was the secret?
I mean, first of all, I'm really honored
what
and
is this
grateful
maintenance? What does it
to the people
entail?
of
What was he
Nairobi,
doing there?
for
Say,
choosing me,
and
giving me the
out.
mandate to be their governor.
Just before
You know all the drama that was there. Despite
What
all
was
of
he
that,
maintaining
the
that
resolve
system?
was strong. And especially
Maybe you just want to tell us
seeing
what
the
the
entirety of the results in
entails as
Nairobi.
part of that contract
My
agreement.
party didn't perform
Then
very
back
well.
to the question
If you look at
of
the MCs, the MPs,
percentages.
Senator,
In
women rep,
terms of
but I got
turnout.
votes across board.
I think
from
I asked this
Azimio,
question, I asked,
of course from
Mr.
Kenya
Orengo,
Kwanza, and I'm
but
very
now that
grateful.
you may not
I don't know
have
what secret
you may
could
also
be. I've just
address it.
always stayed true to
In
who I am.
the arguments that have
I've kept it real.
presented before
And I think
us,
that is what connected with the people.
Mr. Chebukati,
And for me, I believe in God's word that
mentioned
leadership comes from God, Romans 13,
65.4%
that all authority, there's a reason and
then
a purpose for
he
it.
did indicate that
And
that
so
was
I'm
bound
just
to
grateful,
change
and whatever it is, I hope it keeps happening. That the first shot at Senate worked, at governor worked, and for me, I take it as a huge mandate. In fact, if you look at the results, there are a lot of lessons to learn from it. I want to understand why they made the decision, and I want to tell the people of Nairobi, I will not let you down. I will not let.
We're going to talk about that shortly, but you mentioned the drama, so you've waded into that.
Yeah.
Is it over now?
I don't think it'll ever be
cases
over.
out there? Anything still pending on this matter?
Well, nothing. We were vindicated in court. I think the last thing is just a mention of what the agreement was with the commission. I'm confident because everything came out clearly. And the vote of confidence, as Mutula puts it, by the people is also a vindicating factor. For me, I'm focused on the work. I have, almost a hang assembly in terms of Kenya Kwanza and Azimio. I'm reaching out to all the members because the people of Nairobi who voted for that Kenya Kwanza MCA also voted for me. That person who voted for an Azimio MCA and also voted for me wants us to all work together. So I'm reaching out to Nairobians from across the political divide. The politics is over. Let's come work together. All the MCAs, the people who voted for me, those who didn't vote for me, I want to prove them wrong and work for them diligently. I want to wake up every single day and just keep pushing the needle because there are no quick fixes for this city. But that unity is extremely important for us.
We're going to get into the nitty-gritties in just a bit. But Mutula, what were some of the key issues that you faced in your race?
To express their concern.
I mean, Makueni,
Because, of course, being
I didn't face the challenges that Sakaja faced.
I wonder if he called you at any point.
Too many times. I don't even want to disclose what we discussed, but I had a very candid conversation with him. And I can say it and I can say it on TV that I told him most people will attribute his failure to me and his success to me the same way they would attribute my failure or success to him. And I told him, and it was important that the issue is resolved. And I was very concerned, and he knows. And I'm happy that the people of Nairobi is possibly the only one who cuts across. He was voted across parties.
Somehow
the issues in Makueni are many. There are many, but in terms of priority and order, you have
this is not a
so much poverty,
but a question to
hunger like you have, like we have not had before. So the election, the campaign was not even about even manifesto. People were asking where are we going to get our next meal. There's so much hunger. They have not seen rain. They are not going to see rain.
We to assume
and in every place, people stopped me and told me, where is this unga that we were promised? The unga that they were promised of 100 shillings. Somehow got lost either on Mombasa Road or industrial area. They never saw it. They paid 250, and at some point they were unable to even get that one.
By the time that call was placed,
so you have those social challenges that we are facing when we go there.
The results.
People don't have school fees; they have to go to school.
There's no way they would have been on that mission.
I'm telling you, and I should invite you to a place called Zio. I was driving around Zio during the campaigns, and see all these nice,
in fact, if this be their mission, are we to assume that they already knew the results?
That we have world-class oranges. When I ask about the market,
then finally
somebody comes to Makueni, collects them at 45 shillings, bring them to Zukini in Nairobi and sells them at 330 or 350.
My goodness. 6 times. 6 times. Same profit for that journey.
Just for a journey of 102 kilometers. Same with French beans, etc., etc. So people are facing those challenges that they are working so hard. They are working so hard because 68 or 70, up to 70% of Makueni residents are agriculture dependent. But they are not getting the market. So they told me, we want to work hard, but make sure we get a market for our produce first.
Okay, I'm going to cut you there because we're getting deep into county matters and I'm coming to those. Let's talk a little bit about what's been happening on the national stage. And I know both of you have been following keenly.
The one who was saying,
there are 9 petitions before the courts, or you could say 8 and a cross petition as well. And I don't want to get into the merits or the demerits of the case, but I just want to get your thoughts on this. How, in your view, might this play out? And I'll start with you, Governor-elect Sakaja.
Would you be willing to advise?
Presidential level, a difference of a little over 200,000 votes or so. How do you think it will play out for the country?
I think first of all,
I rest my case
that we're in currently as a country is really, if you compare this country to countries across the world, I think it's a great mark of the beauty of our democracy. That even after an election, people have remained calm.
I just have one inquiry,
one
question.
And I thank my people of Nairobi especially, because this always becomes the epicenter of a lot of the drama. Just maintaining peace and allowing the structures within our constitution to play their role. That's a beautiful thing, and we must.
It's a pleasure to have you.
And I'm sure even after the verdict is given on the 5th of September,
a privilege to have you.
That we will still remain calm.
Let's just go straight to
the outcome and follow what the court
how
says.
did you come about the name
from where I
Patrice
sit, I think a masterstroke really was just the transparency. I believe IBC followed the letter or the Supreme Court said in 2017. All of those forms were put up there for everyone to see and tabulate for themselves. And I think what the Supreme Court really should do is just to ask, are those forms the same ones which were in the polling stations, and then just add them up. So it makes it easy. It was open for everyone. I think it's a matter that will be resolved
would name their
fairly
children
easily, despite the numerous number of petitions. Sometimes you need many to overload the judges. They only have 14 days to make a decision. But nevertheless, whatever comes out of it, of course I'm hopeful that the win of President Ruto, President-elect Ruto, Nelson Mandela. So that is in whichever way it goes, we have one country, and we shall remain as one united country. For me, that is the hallmark of it. You can't compare where we are today with where we were in 2007. We have grown as a country.
What do you think
African
people can do to fight against corrupt
your
leadership?
neighbor is your brother still.
I think Africans must recognize that
it was beautiful campaigning in Nairobi. Many times we'd come across the trucks of our opponents
the current
crowds,
generation,
and do high fives
but
and laugh,
generations
and
yet
joke.
to be born.
This is a continent
that has always had potential.
And I'd love to hear what your conversation.
First of all, we just reminisced about how the campaign was. There were stories from his side, stories from my side. I told him, hey, he had some ideas I really liked.
African leaders in many
some of the things of like the Nairobi Foundation, etc. IEBC, and we agreed to work together, going forward. That is a role he can play with the private sector, in our business council, or in our economic and social council. And I think that is the beauty of a mature democracy.
That's whether it's an official or unofficial role.
It's up to what we agree, but at least we started that conversation. And many people said, look, we'd have loved to have seen now that between William Ruto and Raila Odinga, that His Excellency the President-elect can reach out and they also talk after this contest is done. Because ultimately, and I promise you, every Kenyan, no matter how they voted, no matter the political divide, they want the same thing, to go about their lives peacefully, make something out of themselves, and guarantee the children. That is what those people in the PCO regions are thinking about. That's what my people in Nyamakima and Gikomba and Borogon are thinking about. Ultimately, the politics should not deny us from doing that. So, progressively, the United States of America, expedited, that people can release the pressure through the court process, that the court remains independent and makes a proper decision, that there is no interference despite all the rumors that are flying right, left and center, and that they just look at the law and follow the law.
Mutula, on the back of that,
the problems in South
What do you think is going on right now? What should they be doing or saying to Kenyans right now? I'm talking about President-elect William Ruto, Azimio candidate Raila Odinga.
These are sad
if you were in their shoes,
the tragic
what would you be saying or doing?
That the African Union appears to be helpless in this situation.
I can answer that question. Let me give you my opinion, and then I can answer that question.
By systems of government which we do not understand and which are not serving as well.
I'm a little disappointed with
and the time is now to wake up
sat in the
and to begin to find African solutions to African problems. Is it doable? Yes, it
put in place
but
mechanisms
we must
of having
wake
what we
up
call
from
an
our slumber,
integrated election
because
management
those who are in
system.
positions of leadership are quite comfortable with the situation as
and
it is.
the electronic
we must have
transmission and the scanning of documents.
In the nature of an Arab Spring.
You would have verifiable elections, you would have transparent elections.
And they told their leaders, you are going to do that which is in our best interest. Unfortunately, some of the gains made after the Arab Spring have been clawed back.
There is no reason.
And that is a lesson for us. If you
to keep Kenyans
regain your independence, you must remain eternally vigilant. Because
you can't keep Kenyans waiting for 7 days. And I'll tell you the reasons. One,
you mentioned the
I traveled with Senator Orengo on an invitation by the equivalent of the Brazilian electoral agency. It manages 107 million voters who are all on biometrics. If you Google the map of Brazil, you find forests, rivers, islands, and whatever you have. The presidential election is
which is the immediate success of the OAU.
Not even
that
2
is
days,
beginning
2 hours,
to let Africa
between 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock.
I was amazed.
The system they use is created by themselves. Once that system has been put in place, and it's a small little gadget that acts both as a ballot box and accounting system. They invite hackers. You know, this is now what we're talking about.
Ethical hackers.
They invite all sorts of hackers. They tell them, do your bit for 3 weeks. Try. They hack, they do whatever they can, so that by the time they go into the election,
where there is almost 80 to
you do
90%
not have the problem that somebody is going to get into the system.
And the reason why the African
disappointed
Union has become,
that there's a
as you rightly
possibility that
say,
somebody
a
could have
toothless
hacked into
bulldog
the system.
is
That there is even an
because
allegation that were
there are
hackers.
no leaders
That there was an
who
allegation
are
somebody could remove a form.
for the agenda of
we
the
sound as if
African
we
Union
are
in the manner that
not
we
even a
had
third
in the
world.
early days.
What sort of a country is that's not what we contemplated.
When we had
Three, what
Nyerere,
disappoints me
when we
again
had Haile Selassie,
is this.
when we had Gamal Abdel Nasser,
Dr. Rosalyn Akombe left the commission.
In a very
she did a very elaborate report, which I have and which I shared in the committee of
non-interference in the affairs
on the workings
of other nations,
IEBC.
and in a perverted
and he said, if you want to
reform
reform this country, you must have an IEBC that is not politically affiliated.
So that we know
Rosalyn
that
Akombe was slapped in a boardroom in this commission.
South Sudan. And we are doing nothing.
And she explained why they had problems.
We know there is a
because the commission was split between political parties and lineages across political parties. We sat and looked for a formula of picking commissioners.
And even when the
and
leaders
even
congregate,
at some point, these commissioners were picked by church leaders because we thought
they don't discuss this
that if the church leaders pick these commissioners, we might as well good.
But I've had the candidates say, Mutula, where would you find angels? People who have
that's what
zero political interest in this country.
That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering that aloud and saying. Now that we have tried all these methods, is it possible for the presidential elections we just bring people who are neutral? That person doesn't have a second name that you know.
What is the problem?
Doesn't know Sakaja or is related to Sakaja, etc., etc. Because where are you going to get a person,
in the Cameroon,
even
and in many other countries,
people
so that
of
we
faith
have who
doesn't know you,
who
doesn't think that he should give you a favor, who we can trust.
That the UN will sit
so
down
that then if you say my name is Waiga Maura, people are not wondering, okay, you cannot be an Azimio agent. You know, that sort of thinking. So I'm saying it's disappointing for this country to have calls about this system, because this system is something that we spend a lot of money. The third one is this.
The African Union is very disappointed.
The country with the most
when Dr. Mohammed was appointed as the chairman of the commission, I thought that this was a new person that would come with new energy to replace Nkosana
and therefore
Zuma.
it must count for something.
What I see is
it must count for something. That we spend so much money per voter to go into an election, so that we employ good technology, we employ good systems.
I was amazed.
Now the question of transparency, and I can tell you,
if I'm not wrong,
just both prosecuting the case. I don't even know what the case is, because I'm not part of it.
In the Security Council, and they nominated the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Every Kenyan.
How can you possibly nominate the Democratic Republic of Congo, whose president has refused to hold elections, whose country is generating refugees,
so why do we spend so much money trying to buy systems specifically for IEBC, which can be manipulated? I don't understand. Therefore, what am I saying? I'm simply saying, what I'm simply saying, although Kenyans, and you must credit Kenyans because they voted peacefully. You can't say, we thank you for maintaining peace. It's we, the politicians, who caused the problem.
In an assembly
the Kenyans
which is
voted
judging
peacefully.
how God should be
they
preserved.
Went and voted.
It is a
the
tragedy
whole
of gigantic
and,
proportion.
And therefore, it is them who are
peaceful.
It is politicians who are going to cause disharmony.
Africa has now
I'll come back to you
and
to respond to the other question that I had for you.
Yes.
But you've opened up some interesting points. I want to hear Sakaja's view on any thoughts about our electoral management so far. And we heard you on the day of your announcement, where you praised the IBC staff. You said they went through a lot. What proposals would you give moving forward?
Our younger generation particularly
in Nairobi.
Think that this does
but I don't want to focus on that.
This matters.
If you look at it was a huge fight, I mean, the work of a candidate should not be trying to find returning officers who have disappeared from polling stations,
Turkey.
But I mean,
it is the young
having said that,
who came up to rise up
we have over-legislated our
against the
electoral
dictatorial regime.
And it's
we remember even during the Bolshevik Revolution, it was the young
in our country.
We remember
during
the civil rights movement led by Martin Luther King Jr. and Ralph
and then for those 7 days,
others. It was young people
to come physically
in 1968 in France when there was a problem.
And then bring it and verify without you had a knowledge and say, no, this form is not the same as the same. It's a trust deficit. Because with that same exact system that we have, it's possible to do those 2 hours. Because once it's sent, I mean, those forms are uploaded in how long? Very quick time, the whole
the young people.
But it's not just that trust deficit. And then we legislated in a bad
way. In the Arab world, is the young people.
Remember, we were coming from the 2007 elections.
I am imprisoned by
Arsenal. There was the new constitution, and you see that mood of mistrust that let's put as many. I think maybe India might be the only other jurisdiction
South American
with that number of steps. Right now, I think the election is 50,000 crore or something, as expensive.
So that our young people have no sense of her history, no sense of her presence. No
economies that are much greater than ours.
No wonder the Chinese are conquering us by the day.
People
and we are wondering.
You vote and send
John
it back.
F. Kennedy.
You have electronic voting.
Said
but in Kenya we can't do that because we'll say, Mutula will hack or Itumbi or Sakaja because of that trust deficit. That is what we really need to. That penetrability or the claim that there was penetration of the system.
It is only the day that they wake up that they will be able to send
for me, certain things must change.
To those in positions of leadership that
are extremely unfair.
Cannot continue to misgovern
governor and senator. That also
I look
needs
forward to those.
I was looking for.
Let's get back to African leaders. You appear to
and they're supposed to be
believe
taking
in the
results.
president of Tanzania.
I think we need to have.
What do you mean?
John Magufuli.
You see, once the election has been done,
before they declare the governor election in the constituency, that same returning officer is running to Bomas to line up. If you have supporters waiting,
but
the tension was building.
To line up with their 34A or
34As before they bring my 37A. So I think we need either a presidential election because the presidential returning officer is the chairman of the IBC.
And therefore,
and at the constituency level, you don't really have that, So you need to have someone, once that result is done, that specific person then is mandated to take it. So the returning officer then can go to other positions. I think we also need to have electronic transmission for our polls.
Even if there is
another this. I've just finished sorting out my agents. It's cost me 15 million bob.
The ship
3,643 agents.
For how many days of work?
3
days.
3 days, 15 million.
3 days, the rest till work with Toleras. No, it was not in Sakata. Because I couldn't afford it.
Of Nigeria
Now,
inherited a system that was rotten to the core.
Where the form must go. You have 396 polling center managers.
Of corruption.
You have your mobilizers.
In fact,
I'm not a presidential candidate.
And won the
I don't have that big backing. I think something must be done. So we need to change the issue of transmission. We need to keep testing that system, and I agree with Mutulonga. We need to keep testing it. Do away and bring these young people. Try and penetrate this. Let us see. And then over time, an election is not a date. It's an event. So more than a year before, 2 years, you start testing that we know where our ballots are.
And it's not
4 weeks, because then that creates, the distrust.
But in fact, the legislation we put in place is supposed to have public testing in what is either 2G, 3G, 4G, so that you can test the system. It's 6 months to the elections. And it's supposed to be open in public, and also they're supposed to go around, so that we can easily just audit the system. While we do so, let's not forget, and we must pass our condolences
if you look
to the
at
two returning officers, one of the Shogo and the one of Embakasi, people who lost their lives
in the Christian religion of Christ had a message.
They've lost their lives while working,
but he sold it to 12 others.
And therefore, while everybody is saying there's peace, these people have died, must have died possibly because of this election. And those are the same people in the constitution who are supposed to be the ones who are giving the figures for the presidential election.
He said
for the second one, the police say they don't see any foul play in it. We wait for them to finish the investigation.
The police can say anything.
He tried to sell it in Mecca. He didn't sell very well.
The point, and this point must go to the voter apathy. In Makueni, there's 489 odd thousand
no matter how good your idea is, that idea must be sold to others. They must buy into it. And that is how you institutionalize it. You cannot be a lone warrior in this matter. Because the children of darkness
your ballot doesn't count
like a pack of
so why waste the time? Why spend 1,000
shillings traveling? And they will devour you if you are alone.
And it won't count for something. They will dispute.
That's serious.
There are several polling stations actually in Makueni where they were forced to revert to the manual register.
That was Kibwezi West. The whole of Kibwezi West.
Do you know how many were registered under the manual register tonight? Would you be able to say that you know this definitively as
because the figures are one was because of the integrated management system, you're able to tell how many people voted.
Despite
because the manual, it was a manual register, you are unable to tell. Even when we ask them, some of them in a whole polling station in a place called Ngaka, all my results were cancelled. 173 votes were cancelled.
In the fight against corruption, it has been demonstrated.
And what is even worse is that there was a court judgment.
Unless you sustain the war, and it is a war. Remember
some of these processes
that there are individuals, not only in Nigeria,
so what do we blame? Because some would say, I'm sitting here with two outgoing exiting senators who had
they are not just about to win themselves
the opportunity to legislate and put pressure on national government and put these systems in place in time.
Can we tell you something?
It's not you two in your previous role.
We did something with this good gentleman here. After the fall of BBI,
of money corruptly acquired, they live in houses that are corruptly acquired.
What would be a non-contentious constitutional amendment that would involve some reforms.
So when you want to stop it,
received more phone calls.
We were dismissed.
They are going to ensure that you are neutralized. These are the people that you are fighting against because these are individuals whose conscience is dead and they are going to do anything on earth to prevent you. In fact, when one chooses to fight corruption, one must remember that he or she can't